Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto Highschool DxD Issei bashing. Before I start, please support for more amazing content, and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by Bratja Rasa and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Chapter 1, What I Am. I promise that we will meet again. I said confidently to my best friend. Do you really mean it, Naruto? She asked as she clutched a locket that hung around her neck. I smiled warmly and held the key. It's a promise of a lifetime, I replied. She looked at me with her brown eyes filled with doubt before they were filled with joy, and her mouth curved into a smile. The wind blew across us, her long blue hair being scattered every which way, causing us to laugh. She closed the distance and hugged me tightly. The world faded into smoke as it morphed into the underworld, smoke filling the sky, and the smell of corpses was strong. Someone hovered over as my vision blurred, as it was when it happened. The sky of the underworld was much different from the sky of the human world. I stared up at it with heavy-lidded eyes as blood bubbled out of my mouth. I'm so sorry this had to happen, I heard as the speaker choked on her tears. I never wanted this. My body was numb from the waist down, and my head was spinning. I felt the person place one hand under me and the other on my shoulder as they lifted me up. I am sorry for what I am about to do, the person whispered, their tears landing on my face before they turned my head to expose my neck. Now to normal third-person view. Naruto, the rook of Rias Gremory, slowly opened his eyes. Why must these memories be the ones that appeared when I sleep after eating? Naruto thought as he leaned up and wiped his eyes of any sleep left in them. His hand brushed against the mask he has worn for the last 10 years, since he was 6. It was made of metal and was diamond-shaped with some small holes for breathing. 1. Naruto rose from his bed and grabbed his towel and school uniform, and excited the room, bumping into his roommate and fellow rook. Morning, Naruto-kun, said a sleepy Kaneko as she rubbed her eyes, looking like a mo-cat as she did. She wore nothing but an oversized shirt, her white cat ears and tail were out, making steady twitches as she was getting accustomed to being awake. Morning, Kaneko-chan, Naruto replied cheerfully as he proceeded to pet the 15-year-old girl on the head. Kaneko rubbed her head against his hand and purred. I'll make breakfast as soon as I'm done showering and dressing, Naruto informed her as he removed his hand, earning a pout. Naruto chuckled and proceeded into the upstairs bathroom as Kaneko went to the downstairs bathroom. Naruto put his clothes and towel down and removed his shirt to show a decent build with little to no fat on it. However, the only thing that was different was the seal on his stomach that he would hide at school with simple illusion magic. 2. Shaking his head, he proceeded to undress completely, leaving a leather string with a key on it, and turned the water on. 20 minutes passed as Naruto exited the bathroom, his shirt and shorts in the hampers and his towels hanging to dry in the bathroom, and he proceeded to make his way downstairs. He was greeted by Kaneko, her neckish features hidden, sitting at the table in her uniform. And here I thought girls were supposed to take longer than boys when getting ready? Naruto sarcastically commented as he moved past her and into the kitchen. Those girls are some of the worst, Kaneko replied as she eagerly awaited breakfast. Besides, you have a hard time keeping your face clean with that mask blocking it. Touché, Naruto replied as Kaneko started to smell bacon being cooked. It was 6:52 in the morning, so they had time to eat a somewhat big breakfast. After 10 minutes, Naruto stepped out with 4 sandwiches made with toasted wheat bread, dried tomato slices, bacon, an omelet-style egg with some pepper in it, and on the side was a glass of orange juice for them both. Placing one plate and glass before her, Naruto watched her start eating her food with joy as he set his down. He was truly happy that she enjoyed his cooking. After enjoying his breakfast and cleaning the dishes, the two rooks had an hour left before school, so they decided to watch one episode 1 of the early morning anime. It turned out to be a rerun of the original Mobile Suit Gundam. At 7:50, Naruto went to the kitchen and grabbed their lunches that he prepared the night before. He went to the door to see Kaneko pulling on her shoes. What's for lunch today? She asked, her eyes sparkling in anticipation as she took her lunch from him and grabbed her bag. That's a surprise, Kaneko, Naruto replied with an unseen smirk as her expression became irritated. Naruto put his shoes on and grabbed his school bag. They exited and locked their small house and left for school with under 40 minutes to spare. It took only 15 minutes to get to school. They arrived at school as many students were rushing to get to their classes so their seats would not be taken by someone else. Good morning, Naruto, Kaneko, a familiar voice called out to the pair. It was Yudo Kiba, a fellow second year to Naruto and fellow peerage member of Rias Gremory. He was her knight and was, as many of the boys would call him, a prince among men, as he was indeed very handsome and had girls swoon over him. Morning, Kiba/senpai. Naruto and Kaneko replied as the three of them made their way into the shoe locker area. Ignoring the whispers of the girls and the quiet threats of the males, Naruto separated from his friends and changed his shoes, giving him under 20 minutes before class. Deciding to take it easy, Naruto progressed to his class reading a medical book, only to make it to see out of the side of his eye a brown-haired boy and 2 other males running towards him and slam into him full force. But as a rook, he took the hit and wasn't really fazed as the 3 boys basically bounced off of him and hit the floor hard. Ow, the 3 said as they slowly stood up. Hayato-san, Naruto said as he closed his book and approached him. Are you three alright? Naruto was genuinely concerned for them as they did fall pretty hard, and it was also his dream of becoming a doctor. Yeah, I'm fine, Uzumaki. Issei relied as he stretched and helped his two friends up. But you won't be for long. All three of them went stiff as they turned to see members of the kendo club there with their shunai prepared, all three screaming like little girls before taking off with the crowd of girls running after them. Why do you talk to that creep Uzumaki Kohai? An older female student/member of the kendo club asked him. He is in my class and is pretty interesting. Naruto answered honestly. I see him as a loose friend, but he is one of the perverted trio, she stated, her face holding confusion. So, everyone is perverted, some more than others. Naruto replied as he opened his book again and continued towards class. Classes went on like normal with Naruto writing down the notes exactly and quickly just as Venelana had taught him when he was a child. Issei, however, gazed out the window with an image of Rias in his head. Soon enough, lunch came and Naruto stood up, grabbing his lunch, and made his way to the occult research club room in the old building. Naruto could not eat in front of the other students in fear of what he might do. Naruto entered and saw Kaneko already there, her lunch being clutched into her stomach as she waited for him to show up so they could eat together. She relaxed when she saw him entered and made room for him on the couch. Once Naruto sat down, the two of them started eating with Naruto once more opening his medical book and started reading on how one must go about reattaching limbs. The door opened again as their king and queen, Rias and Akino, entered. Rias made her way to the desk and sat in its comfy chair as Akino prepared some tea for the four of them. Really, Naruto-kun? Rias commented. I know you want to become a doctor, but with your condition you can't. Naruto froze. Every day. Every damn day she does this. He thought as his body stiffened and then slouched slightly. He felt an unyielding guilt and sadness stir in his stomach. The hand holding his book shook in anger. Akino and Kaneko witnessed this and then glared at Rias, who was too occupied by her tea and lunch to really notice. I guess I'll never learn, Naruto said weakly as he put his book and his food away, unable to focus on them. Kaneko gently took his hand, gaining his attention. I think you'd make a great doctor, Naruto-kun, she honestly said. Kaneko knew he could do it, however it was not the normal means of being a doctor. He had been trained by many medical devils while in the underworld since he was 9 and was pretty good at what he could do, though he wasn't as good as a professional, which he was okay with. He did lack knowledge on the traditional human methods, and knew he could not use healing magic on normal humans without any unnecessary trouble. Naruto smiled under his mask in gratitude. He could always count on Kaneko to cheer him up. Thanks for your support, Kaneko-chan, he said as he placed his hand on her head and ran it through her silky white hair. Kaneko leaned in and purred against his arm. Chuckle, even if you can't become a doctor, Akino said as she placed 2 cups of tea on the table for them. I know that you could use that knowledge to be, licks he lipped sensually, creative in the bedroom. Akino got a laugh at Naruto's face as it became the same shade of red as Rias's hair. The door opened as Kiba stepped inside with a bag. Rias-bucho, I have some news, he stated as he sat down on the sofa chair besides Naruto and Kaneko. What is it, Kiba-kun? Rias asked as her eyebrow rose. I just found out that yesterday, Issei was asked out on a date. He agreed to go out this Saturday, Kiba informed them, catching all of their attention. It's a fallen angel, and she is probably going to kill him. Rias held a focused face as she thought about the information she just heard. I say we wait it out, Rias answered. It'll be easier than asking him to join anyway. I know what you're thinking, Rias, Naruto said, grabbing her attention. You are going to let her kill him so he won't have a choice in the matter. You know I don't like this, Rias. It is what I want to do, so it is how it will be done, Rias replied. I'll do anything to get out of this engagement with Riser. Naruto removed himself from the couch and headed towards the door. And where do you think you're going, Uzumaki Naruto? Rias asked in a demanding tone a parent would use against their child. I'm going to put an end to this before it starts, Naruto said. I'm going to kill her before she kills Issei-san. As your king, I order you to stop, Naruto, so I can let some fallen bitch kill my friend? No thanks. You owe my family, Naruto. Naruto stopped. She played that card. The door handle was destroyed by the force of his grip. Naruto had owed a great debt to Sirzex Lucifer, his wife, and his parents for letting him live. Naruto was not Japanese, but an Italian-American born to an Italian mother and American father who moved to Italy before he was born. His father died from stress, which kick-started a heart attack in the young man. His mother died after giving birth to him in a church orphanage in the countryside, living long enough to give him his name, Naruto. Thus many people mistook him for being Japanese. He was happy there. However, he was saddened when he was never adopted when adults came by. Something about him seemed to repel them. This lonely feeling vanished when a young girl named Zenobia, who was also born in the orphanage, walked up to him and asked to be friends when he was 5. Shortly after, the orphanage got a new worker. She had long pink hair and emerald green eyes. Naruto and Zenobia took immediate interest in her as she was young and was very accepting of everyone. She even took them shopping when the orphanage needed food or other supplies. 7 months passed and Zenobia was told by a member of the Vatican that she was wanted to help God. Zenobia was sad as Naruto did not get an offer, but with a promise and a locket, She left promising to become strong to protect him and everyone else in the world from evil. 2 months passed and then Naruto was turned into ghoul. He does not remember who did it, but he knew if he finds them, he would make them pay. He had no idea how much time had passed, but Naruto had woken up one day in the underworld with his mask covering his mouth. He then noticed Cerzex, Graphia, and the heads of the Gremory family, Venilana and Zeoticus, were there and they began telling him how he ended up here. He learned that he had been wandering around, killing civilian devils and eating them to satiate his hunger. Naruto remembers almost vomiting, but what made it worse was that he had snuck into the Gremory family cemetery, and was digging up one of them to eat the body when they found him. After that they said that he attacked them, actually taking a bite out of Venilana, shown by her healed forearm being scarred. But with a weak child's body they subdued him and had Ajuka Beelzebub make the mask and the seal to help him. He was later given to Rias, and once she heard he did not have a last name, she named him the name Uzumaki because of his given name being Japanese. Naruto shook with rage. He left the room and left school, missing class for the rest of the day. Next day, Kaneko knocked on Naruto's door. Silence. Nothing. Nada. Naruto, get out of bed, she said sternly. We are going to be late for school. After another minute of silence, Kaneko forced his door open, seeing him under his blankets, asleep. Gently pulling them off, Kaneko went to shake him awake, but she stopped. His face was stained with dry tear trails and his sheets were drying from all those tears. Her heart dropped as she saw this. Kaneko ultimately decided not to wake him and put his blanket back on him. She was about to leave when she leaned in close to his face and kissed his temple. With her face a healthy shade of crimson, Kaneko left their home and went to school, with the intent of informing the administration that Naruto was sick and would not show up that day. She then got emotional because she was remembering her first time meeting Naruto. She was 10 years old and her life was spared death at the whim of Cerzex, in hope of having her serve his sister Rias. She had no name at the moment, having renounced the name given to her, as Cerzex, and she walked towards Rias and Akino. Out in the corner of the room was Naruto. His aura, from what her senses were telling her, was very sad and hidden very well. Kaneko. Kaneko Tujo will be your name, Rias said as she hugged the young Nekishu. That night, Kaneko stood out on the balcony, her ears and tail hidden as she did not like them anymore. She still wore the shirt that Cerzex gave her, and it was freezing. She was so focused on this that she did not hear someone behind her. She felt something warm and comforting being draped on her small frame. Kaneko turned her head to see Naruto there, his eyes holding nothing but concern for her. He even told her to not walk out at night wearing little clothes because she could catch a cold. His aura very different from the sad feeling he had earlier. It felt alive and vibrant. It was warm and comforting. It was accepting and willing to love. It was that reason that Kaneko started to get to know him. When she found out he was a ghoul, a creature driven by its instincts, Kaneko felt even more of a connection with him. Both were beings whose instincts revolved around killing. They were kindred spirits, both dealt a hand neither wanted, but had to live with. Kaneko shook her head and entered the main school building and talked to the administration about Naruto's attendance. Chapter 1, done. Chapter 2, Familiar Deals with Devils. Naruto's and Kaneko's apartment. It was mid-morning and Kaneko was doing her leftover homework when she heard Naruto shuffle downstairs. Kaneko looked up to see him trudge into the kitchen and heard him get ready to make them breakfast. Closing her math book, Kaneko entered the kitchen to see Naruto at the stove, trying to light it. Are you alright, Naruto-kun? She asked, seeing him jump slightly, having not seen her. Yeah, why do you ask? Naruto answered after getting his composure back, and turning off the gas on the stove. Can you grab the butter and eggs for me please? You cried in your sleep. Kaneko stated as she went to the fridge and pulled out the items he asked for. I was worried because you slept all day yesterday, and were not eating. I'm sorry for worrying you, Kaneko-chan, Naruto responded as he pulled out a bowl, a whisk, sugar, salt, flour, and baking powder. I can take a guess that Rias had you spy on Issei-san and his girlfriend yesterday to figure out when their date is. Kaneko nodded as she watched him crack the eggs and mix the items together until they were mixed smoothly. Kaneko's eyes widened with stars as Naruto reached for the cupboard again and pulled out a bag of chocolate and caramel chips. She drooled as he poured a hefty amount of both in the bowl and stirred it again. May I ask when they are meeting today? He prodded as he returned his attention to the stove and frying pan. Are you going to interfere? Rias Bucho will be angry if she finds out. Kaneko stated as Naruto poured the batter into the buttered pan. Yes. I can't obey an order that will prevent me from saving a life. Naruto replied as he carefully watched the batter start to bubble, letting him know it was time to flip it. It is like if Rias ordered me to kill you. I would not follow it even if it meant being marked astray. Kaneko nodded in agreement. She believed anyone of Rias's peerage would disobey her if she did that. Are you still angry at her for yesterday? Kaneko asked as Naruto stopped what he was doing. Sigh, I don't hate Rias. I just don't like how she treats me and how she is willing to let someone die just so she can get a potentially strong member without their consent, and to get her out of this marriage. Naruto said as he flipped another pancake. She is selfish and I sometimes wish that Lucifer-sama had just killed me so I would not have to deal with her. Kaneko inhaled angrily. Don't say that, Naruto-kun, she shouted, making him flinch as he turned to look at her. If you had died then we would have never met, and I would have never I probably would still feel lonely. Kaneko took deep breaths as she recovered from her outburst, her face completely red. She had almost told him she loved him. You're right, Naruto said with an unseen smile on his face. If I had died I would have never met any of you guys and would not be happy. Kaneko nodded again as she watched him finish the pancakes and place a massive slice of butter on them for her. Here you go. I'm going to shower, then I want to know when Issei-san is going on his date, Naruto said with a gentle rub of her head and a hug. Skip Issei's house. Naruto, wearing cargo pants and a bulky orange sweatshirt with its hood up and orange-tinted sunglasses, stood unnoticed by everyone who had walked by. I gotta say that being able to become invisible is amazing, Kurama, Naruto thought as he rubbed the young kitsune's head that stuck out of his sweater collar. Kurama, one, was his familiar, a young kitsune with one tail. As a kitsune, Kurama's magic and abilities were based around getting around without being seen to prank others, along with the natural elemental abilities adult kitsune were naturally gifted in. This helped Naruto be sneaky and hide his presence. Kurama could also change sizes. His current default size was the size of a normal cat, so he could be carried around easily. His current max size was that of a small horse. After some head petting, Naruto had been told by Kaneko that Issei's date was at 1 in the afternoon, and that Rias had slipped one of her summoning seals onto him. So at around 12:30, Naruto summoned Kurama to hide him, and he flew to Issei's house and was currently waiting for said teen to leave the house. After another 10 minutes, Issei left his house in casual wear one would be dressed in on a first date. Naruto smirked under his mask as he followed the unaware brunette to pick up his girlfriend. Naruto frowned. This woman wasn't even trying to hide her murderous intent that her energy had. Anyone who had the slightest ability to sense energy could feel it, and if there were people around who could, they probably would just leave her be. Several hours passed as Naruto witnessed Issei guide the fallen angel around, buying them lunch and taking her to an arcade. Issei even won her a bracelet from a game, simple teenage things that Naruto could not understand why they were considered date-worthy or entertaining. It was mid-evening as the sun had begun to set as Issei and the fallen were walking through an empty park. This may be the time she will make her move, Naruto thought as he watched the couple from atop the wall surrounding the park. It's getting dark, so vision will be impaired for humans, and it's empty so no witnesses. Naruto watched as the fallen put her hands behind her and faced Issei. Issei-kun, today was enjoyable, Yuma said as Naruto sensed her killing intent, Ki, start to rise. But there is one more thing that will make it better. Really, then what is it, Yuma-chan? Issei thought, images of her naked and them having sex. Will you die for me? Issei's eyes widened. Could you repeat that, Yuma-chan? I don't think I heard you correctly? Issei asked. He looked at her. Can you die for me, Issei-kun? Yuma asked as her voice deepened to that of an older woman's voice and her clothes disappeared and were replaced by a leather bondage outfit with massive amounts of under boob and thigh showing. I saw a bare breast, Issei shouted in his head, not really taking what she said to heart as the fallen made a spear of light. It was fun, but you die here, the fallen stated as she went to stab Issei through the gut. However, she was forced to jump back as something erupted into flames out in her peripheral vision. The flames died down to show a baby horse-sized Kurama, now, standing between her and Issei. Kurama growled when the fallen tried to take a step forward, thus keeping her at bay as he bore his sharp fangs at her. What the hell? Issei shouted as he stepped back, only to bump into something, which turned out to be Naruto, who pulled his hood off. It's alright, Issei-san, Naruto stated as he smiled. It was unseen but implied by his tone. You won't die today, but you'll have to come back to my home for the time being. Sorry, but your compliance isn't a factor, Naruto said as he knocked Issei out by chopping him in the neck. Thank you for holding her back, Kurama. Now take Issei back home as I take care of the fallen. Kurama nodded as Naruto placed Issei on his back and took off. No, don't, the fallen shouted as she went to throw her light spear only to see Kurama vanish. Invisibility? That makes it impossible without sensing him. The fallen did not have time to concentrate as she was knocked on her ass by a vicious punch to the face courtesy from Naruto. Fuck, she shouted as it really hurt. She grabbed the side of her face as she stumbled to get up, seeing Naruto stand there nonchalantly. Who the hell are you? She shouted, angry that her prey had disappeared. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, rook in services of the Gremory family, Naruto said as he pulled on a pair of black leather gloves. And may I know your name before I kick your ass? My name is Rainier, Rainier answered snarling. A rook of the Gremory family? Shit, I'll need to call in backup since I heard from the higher up that they have an extremely dangerous rook on their side. Rainier thrust her hand forward and 3 summoning circles appeared, along with 3 more fallen angels. A man, a full-grown woman, and what appeared to be a goth Lolita girl who may be an adult. Naruto wasn't sure since many races could keep a very youthful appearance. Too weak to fight your own battles, I see, Naruto said as he leaped at the man, sending him through the park wall and spun-kicked the loli into a bench. Rainier, who the fuck is this guy? Screamed the other female fallen as she summoned a blade of light. Naruto Uzumaki's the name, and slaying fallen birds is my game, Naruto replied as he dodged her blade, gripping her wrist and pulling her into his incoming fist. Warner vomited as he removed said fist from her gut. Rainer took a step back as Naruto turned to her and started laughing his ass off. He collapsed to his knees, pounding the ground. What's so funny? Rainer shouted as she made another spear of light to defend herself. Naruto ignored her as he laughed. His body blurred for a second. Then again. It happened a third time, revealing a smaller Kurama laughing, showing his excitement by grinning and making what was assumed a laughing noise. Rainer looked around her to see that none of her friends were there and her spear was gone. She was still on the ground. Her ass growing cold from the cobble walkway made contact to her, but, "Why, you little furry fucker?" Rainer screamed as she realized he had her in an illusion. 2 light spears appeared in her hands as she prepared to attack. Kurama shook his head as he vanished through his teleporting seal, safely away from Rainer, Naruto and Kaniko's apartment. So Kurama stayed behind as you carried him here? Kaniko asked begrudgingly. She looked at Issei's sleeping form on their couch as she and Naruto sat at the table eating a light dinner. Yeah, I wanted to get him out of there safely, Naruto said as he took a bite of his toast. Kurama could have done it, but he was reaching the limits of his invisibility. He is still a baby Kaniko-chan, so I can't push him hard. But leaving him to fight a fallen angel is alright? Kaniko questioned with a stern gaze. As she did, a small magic circle appeared and Kurama popped out of it, physically alright with no visual injuries. So Kurama, did it go well? Naruto asked as his vulpine summon padded towards Kaniko and snuggled into her lap. Kurama let out a content whine and nodded as he snuggled closer to Kaniko as she rubbed his back. See, he's fine, Naruto stated as he finished his dinner. Issei-san, on the other hand, will have to be told the truth, and if he freaks out or gets overwhelmed, we can just erase his memories of what happened and the memories of the fallen. Kaniko nodded as she handed Naruto her plate and picked Kurama up. Should we call Rias to explain this to him? Kaniko asked as she held Kurama like a newborn babe and rubbed his belly, much to his liking. No, I do not want her here at the moment, Naruto said hotly. You are still mad, Kaniko stated. Naruto nodded. Anyway, let's move Issei to the guest room, and oh, he will go home. We can set up seals to prevent another attack. Kaniko snapped, interrupting Naruto. Any reason? Naruto asked, quirking his eyebrow. I can deal with his scent in the living room, but to smell him all over will be unbearable, Kaniko responded. Naruto chuckled. Alright, I'll use Kurama's illusion to play Issei for a bit, Naruto said as he took Kurama from Kaniko, placed him in his jacket, and put Issei over his shoulder. Rias's apartment. Why hasn't he used the flyer yet? Rias questioned in her head. It was almost 10 at night, and she had yet to feel the magical pull of the flyer that she put on Issei. What is keeping him from using it? Rias pondered for several minutes, thinking he removed it from his person, or that the fallen angel had destroyed it. Then it dawned upon her. Naruto had stopped the fallen from killing Issei. Angry, Rias activated her summoning circle and stepped into it. Next thing she knew, she was in Naruto's home, with the sound of water hitting water echoing off the walls, until Rias turned to see where the sound was coming from, only to see Naruto taking a piss. What the fuck are you doing in my bathroom, Rias? Naruto shouted, turning his back towards her so he could cover his junk. Rias's face was the same color as her hair as she turned away to the door. The door opened, Kaniko on the other side, her eyes holding confusion and then anger as she saw her king in her bathroom with Naruto. Several minutes passed before Rias could talk again. Why did she have to come here while I was going to the bathroom? Naruto thought as Kaniko sat by his side, very angry. She could have seen his why is she here? Kaniko thought, her cheeks flushing red as she shook her head. What do you want at 10 at night, Rias? Kaniko asked sternly as she glared at their king. I was waiting for Issei to use the summon circle we gave him, but he has yet to do it. I thought of a number of things that could have happened, but the most plausible one was that Naruto stopped him from dying. Rias answered honestly. I teleported to Naruto's exact position, which ended up being the bathroom. Rias looked directly at Naruto. So, did you interfere with Issei's date, Naruto? Naruto sighed. He had hoped to do this tomorrow when he was refreshed and not tired. He had gone to Issei's home, disguised as Issei, to drop the boy off and then sneak out through the window, but was forced to have dinner with the boy's parents. While being nervous, Naruto enjoyed himself. He actually wondered if this was what it to have parents. People who raised you and were not afraid to mess with you, even if it was on the perverted side. He rewrote their memories before he left them alone. After finally getting to his home, Kaniko refused to let him go to sleep before he finished the homework he missed the day before. So, after 2 hours of work from all his classes, Naruto decided to use the bathroom only to have Rias interrupt him halfway through. Yes, I did, Rias, Naruto replied honestly. I could not let him die. So I followed him, and when the fallen angel, her name is Rainer, made her move, I stepped in. How could you disobey me like this, Naruto? Rias borderline shouted. You know how important he is to me. You only want him for his sacred gear. Naruto snapped. Kaniko and Rias were taken back at this. Naruto usually was an easygoing person, and was rarely angry, but to hear him yell at Rias shocked them. You care nothing about him personally. He is just a tool for you to break your engagement to Riser, right? Yeah, but I also want to be his friend after that. Rias tried to argue. Naruto let out a hearty laugh that one could tell was full of sarcasm. You really want to be his friend? Naruto questioned. You are hilarious, Rias. If you wanted to be his friend, you would have approached him and asked if he wanted to be turned instead of letting a fallen kill him. Also, what would you have done if the fallen destroyed his body? What would you have done, Rias? Naruto stood up from his couch, not really letting Rias answer. Now get out of my home, he said. I'll bring Issei-sen to the clubroom on Monday. Naruto walked to the stairs and went up them. Well, Rias-bucho, I think you should leave. Naruto and I are going to visit Gasper tomorrow, and we need our sleep, Kaneko said calmly. She was worried and wanted the cause of Naruto's outburst gone. All right, Rias said as she stood up. Thank you for your time, Kaneko. See you on Monday. Later. Kaneko replied as Rias vanished through her magic circle. Kaneko walked upstairs and made her way to Naruto's room. She knocked on the door, which opened since it wasn't really shut. She entered Naruto's room. One wall was full of bookshelves which were full of manga, medical books, and others books. The other wall was where his bed and nightstand near the window were stationed. The final wall had his desk and his dresser near his closet. On his bed, Naruto lay in his underwear and a shirt. He was on his side, not really paying attention to Kaneko as she made her way to him. Feeling the bed shift, Naruto turned his head to see Kaneko, who moved to lay before him and wrapped her arms around him and lay her head on his chest. His attitude changed from a frothing anger to being at ease and calm. Naruto wrapped an arm around her. Good night, Kaneko-chan, he whispered as he started to drift off. Good night, Naruto-kun, Kaneko replied as she snuggled closer. Skip, Ko High School, end of the school day. Issei was extremely confused. He had woke up on Sunday and asked his parents how he got home the night before. When they said he never left home, Issei said he went on a date with Yuma. They asked him who he was talking about. That was a massive red flag. The next one was when his fellow perverts and friends, Matsuda and Motohama, said that they had no idea who Yuma was and asked if he renamed his left hand. However, the biggest red flag was with Naruto. Issei asked Naruto if he had met up with him on Saturday. Naruto replied with I'll tell you later after school. Issei looked at the clock on the wall. They still had 5 minutes left until class was over and it was destroying him that he did not know what was going on. I remember that Naruto saved me from that scary woman, Issei thought as he gripped his head. Could it all have been a dream? No, it can't be. Naruto would have also asked what I meant if it wasn't a dream. The minutes dragged on and then finally, the bell rang and everyone started to pack to go home. Issei looked over at Naruto, who was grabbing his packed bag. So Issei-sen, follow me please, Naruto said as he looked at the brown-haired pervert. Alright, Naruto, Issei muttered, grabbed his bag and followed him out of the room. The two walked out in silence as Naruto read his book. Issei followed Naruto through the school and out of the main building. Naruto, where are we going? Issei asked nervously. The old school building, Naruto responded as he turned the page. It is where the Occult Research Club meets. That is the club led by Rias Gremory, Issei shouted in shock. Yeah, it is, Naruto said with an eye twitch. Why are we going there? Issei asked, his mind still somewhere on Rias's body. Rias wants you to join our club, Naruto stated as if it was obvious. Really? That's awesome, Issei shouted. Naruto stopped, making Issei bump into him. Something wrong, Naruto? Issei, you are going to be given a choice, Naruto said as he closed his book and turned to Issei. This last weekend, a creature called the Fallen Angel tried to kill you by pretending to be a human named Yuma. Do you remember that? So that wasn't a dream? Issei asked, somewhat scared. Did I die and is this heaven? No, you're still alive. I did save you if you remember? Yeah, you did, by knocking me out if I might add. Issei grumbled. Well, you'll be happy to be alive when you hear the benefits you'll get, Naruto said as he started walking again. They walked for another minute before they saw the old school building. The duo entered and Naruto led Issei up to the second floor and past the forbidden room where Gasper was sealed. They made their way to the main room and Naruto opened it. Inside, Kiba was sitting in a sofa chair sipping tea while Kaneko was sitting on the couch with a plate of cookies. In the background, a shower was going. Good afternoon, Naruto, Issei. Kiba greeted them as Naruto waved at him and went to sit next to Kaneko. Kaneko reached to her cookies and gave one to Naruto. Naruto smiled and took the treat as he pushed a small button on the side of his mask, making the center of the mouthpiece split and receded into the sides, revealing Naruto's face. Naruto took a bite, showing his slightly larger canine teeth to Issei, who was registering who was in the room. Is Rias in the shower again? Naruto asked, which got Issei's attention. Yeah, she has a free period during the last class now, so she decided to take a shower, Kaneko said blandly. She did not know why her king just had to have a shower here. If she was, she should just have a bedroom and kitchen installed in the building and just live here. That's strange, Naruto said as he finished his cookie and had the mask face once more cover it. Era, reverberated through the room as Akino walked in from the back with a tray with tea. I know that voice anywhere. Hey Akino, Naruto muttered as he leaned into the couch and turned to Issei. You can sit down, Issei, Naruto said. No one will bite except Akino. What? Issei said as he got nervous looking at the Buster Ravenet. Ooh, don't give him any false accusations, Naruto-kun. Akino said sensually as placed the tray down, and she extended her hand towards Issei. Greetings, Issei-kun. I'm Akino Himejima, Vice President of the ORC. Akino said with a happy smile on her face. Issei Hayato, he said as he shook the girl's hand. At this point, the water sound stopped and the shudder of curtains echoed in the bathroom. Seems like she's done, Naruto said as Kaneko nodded. She took a little longer than she usually does, Kiba stated as he stood up and stretched. He had been sitting for a while and wanted to move a bit. Issei was pulled to the couch by Akino and forced to sit as she gave him a cup of tea, which he accepted. 10 minutes passed and soon Rias entered the room and sat at the desk. Welcome, Issei, Rias said in a half-seductive, half-professional tone. I am Rias Gremory, and I want you to join us and become a devil? Chapter 2, done. Chapter 3, Gaining Friends. This sucks serious balls, Naruto. Issei groaned as he stood on the corner of Ko Academy passing out flyers that afternoon, getting a nod of agreement from Naruto, who was also handing out flyers. It had been 3 days since Rias asked Issei if he wanted to be a devil, to which he was very apprehensive towards, and he sort of felt justified in those feelings when he had to spend the first night watching anime with a man named Milton. Naruto chuckled at the memory of Rias's cheeks puffing in frustration. Flashback. No! Issei shouted, holding his arms in front of him, his bag on the floor. I want to stay human and die a human. I am grateful Naruto saved me, but I don't want to leave my family. Rias's cheeks puffed out, each red. What does he think I'll do? She thought as she went to speak before Naruto coughed to get Issei's attention. Before we continue, I have a different question for you, Issei-san, he stated as the brown-haired boy looked at his friend. What is your dream, Issei-san? Issei had smiled. My dream, he said as he spun around and flourished his arm upward, index finger pointing towards the heavens, is to become the harem king. Issei radiated such confidence and pride that it was swiftly and painfully kicked in the. You are the worst, Issei-senpai, Kaneko said dryly as she ate another cookie. Issei instantly deflated. Why are you so mean, Kaneko-chan? He questioned as he had tears in his eyes. His sadness was replaced with fear when the small white-haired girl glared death at him. Don't use Chan with my name, she said slowly. Bonk. Kaneko's hands flew to her aching head. That's enough, Kaneko-chan, Naruto said as he stared at her. You aren't helping Issei make his decision. Kaneko huffed and turned away from Issei. Back to my earlier question, Issei. How do you plan on becoming the harem king? Naruto questioned said boy. No idea, huh? Well, if you join this peerage, not only will you become a devil, but you can gain a harem much easier than you could as a human, Naruto informed. Devils have accepted polygamy, while most of humanity hasn't. Issei thought about it for a second. Here is another thing, Naruto continued. If you leave, then that woman could attack you again and I might not be around to save you again. There was a pregnant pause. I want to become a devil, Issei shouted. I want a harem. You're the worst, Kaneko said as she sipped some tea. Issei looked at her and shrugged. It still hurt to hear that from a cute girl, but he could let it go. Well then, let's get you converted and see if we can get you to awaken your sacred gear, Ria said. She summoned a collapsible chess board as she stood up to stand in front of Issei. What's a sacred gear? Issei asked as Rias opened the chess board up, revealing red chess pieces, 1 knight, 1 rook, 1 bishop, and all 8 pawns. Sacred gears are tools created by the biblical God. There are many different types of different powers and abilities, Rias answered as she watched the pawns start to glow. Issei saw this, but had no idea what was going on. So what do I have? Issei asked anxiously. One thing at a time, Issei, Rias said as she held up all her pawns. Are you ready, Issei? As soon as Issei nodded, all 8 pawns floated out of Rias's hand and circled around Issei. Now, become my pawn and heed my call, Issei Hayato, Rias chanted as a magic circle appeared under Issei. As soon as those words were said, all 8 pawns shot into Issei's body. Issei felt a gently tingle sensation, but nothing more. I don't feel that different, Issei stated as he looked over himself. Well, you now have wings and a weakness to light and holy items and weapons, Rias informed. Really? Issei questioned. Yes, but you now possess the powers of the pawn, Rias stated before she turned her attention to the chessboard. Say, Issei, do you know anything about chess? End flashback. Naruto's covered face then turned into a frown. After Rias gave Issei in-depth knowledge on chess pieces, Rias had dismissed everyone but Naruto. Why? Well, it was to punish him for disobeying her. Naruto sighed as he remembered what she did. Rias has spanked him. Not only did she spank him 1,000 times, the basic punishment, she also Akino used her lightning on him. Akino took slight pleasure at this, but could firmly say she did not enjoy the fact that Naruto had an extremely high pain tolerance, as all he did was make a frown which she could not see with his mask. The rest of his punishment was to pass out flyers with Issei. So, Naruto, what do you think Bucho will make us do tonight? Issei asked. Earlier that day, Ria sent her peerage a text saying to meet up that night at the old school building. It's probably a stray devil, Naruto replied as he looked over the flyer table. They only had a single stack each. and to also break you into the business and to possibly awaken your sacred gear. If that is the case, then I'm looking forward to tonight. Issei stated with a huge smile. Naruto, what piece do you think I should promote to? Both boys grabbed their last stack of flyers. Well, that is easy, Naruto said. You have little to no magic at the moment, so becoming a bishop isn't worth it. A knight's speed can be useful, but with no fighting style it is just a single ability boost. So I recommend that you promote to becoming a rook for the increased defense and attack strength. A rook, huh? Issei said as he finished handing out his flyers. What about the queen though? Doesn't it have the combined power of the knight, rook, and bishop? Naruto also finished his stack and nodded. It does, but 200 times 0 is still 0, Issei-san. Naruto replied honestly. At the moment, you aren't ready, and your sacred gear is still dormant. Issei deflated a bit at being called weak, but he bounced back. So when I get into enemy territory, I'll promote to a rook till further notice, he said proudly as the two grabbed the collapsible tables and returned them to the club room. Do you have any ideas on how I can awaken my sacred gear, Naruto? Naruto stayed silent as he thought about it. Can I really use the same method Grafia-sama used when she started training me in magic? Naruto questioned. After becoming a devil, everyone had some magic awaken in them via their evil piece. All it took was the correct motivation and situation. Well, there is one way that we can try, Issei-san, Naruto stated as they entered the old school building. Alright then, let's try it, Issei said enthusiastically as they put the tables away. If you're sure, then let's take this to the club room, Naruto said as he looked for a marker. Outside the old school building, I wonder how Issei-kun has adapted to being a devil, Kiba said as he, his king, and the rest of the peerage headed towards the clubroom. I don't really know, but Naruto-kun told me that he is adjusting quite well, Kaneko said as the group entered the building. They made their way to the clubroom and as they got to it, they heard grunting noises, specifically Issei's grunts. They heard them talking as they got to the door. Come on, Issei-san, is that all you can do? Naruto asked in an uninterested manner. I'm doing as best I can, Issei stated. Rias, Akino, and Kaneko's faces lit red as their imaginations ran wild. Kaneko, however, snapped out of it and realized that if they were doing what she imagined, then she would die of eternal self-hate and sadness. The doors flew off their hinges as Kaneko kicked the doors and stormed in. Issei, sitting on the ground with his shirt off, sat before Naruto, also sitting on the ground. Issei had a massive circle drawn on his stomach with black marker. A line went from the center of the circle to the top of Issei's ribcage, then went to his left shoulder and down to another circle on his hand. What are you doing? Rias asked as she entered and saw what was going on. Naruto offered to help me call out my sacred gear, Issei informed them. It is the same way I was taught how to use magic, Naruto said as he turned his attention back to Issei. Come on, Issei, feel a pull in the pit of your stomach and force it through your torso, into your shoulder and into your hand. Issei closed his eyes as he tried again. He could not really feel any pull. Come on, Issei, do it and I'll give you a picture of Rias in a bikini from last summer, Naruto promised. Rias sputtered as she heard this. Kaneko smacked Naruto in the back of the head. Kiba chuckled as Akino was wondering if she should give Issei and Naruto a bikini pic. I'll do it, he said as he tried even harder, before he felt a burning sensation in the bowels of his stomach. Spiritually grabbing it, he moved it through the path Naruto laid out for him and forced it into his hand. Alright, Issei-san, now release the energy with a powerful image, Naruto informed. What should I use? Issei questioned as he strained concentration. I don't know, but I used the Vegeto Spirit Sword from DBZ, Naruto said. Issei's eyes snapped open as he pulled his left hand, now clenched into a fist, back. Dragon Fist. He shouted through his punch, an image of Goku as a Super Saiyan 4 punching through an enemy with a golden Chinese dragon enveloping him. A flash of red and green energy erupted from Issei's hand that blinded him and everyone in the room. When it died down, there was a red plate of armor with a big circular emerald on the back of the hand with 2 gold wing-like spikes sticking out of it. The gear left Issei's fingers uncovered along with the bottom half of his arm. Wow, this is cool, Issei said as he looked at his newly acquired sacred gear. Indeed interesting, Rias said as she gently took his hand and looked at it. Issei blushed and brushed the back of his head with his right hand. Naruto's eyes narrowed as he looked at the red armor on his peer's arm. It's the boosted gear. It's also called the Red Emperor's Dragon Gauntlet. It's one of the 13 Longinus sacred gears, Naruto. Naruto blinked and looked to his right and then left. What was that? He thought as he shook his head. You okay? Kaneko asked concerned. Did I hit you too hard? No, I'm fine, Kaneko-chan, Naruto said as he stood up. So, why are we here tonight, Rias? There is a stray devil in my half of the city, Rias said as she turned her attention to her peerage. Abandoned house, edge of Ko City. The peerage of Rias Gremory teleported to the area of stray devil activity. The stray here has been tricking humans into this building and devouring them, Akino said, cautiously glancing at Naruto. Our mission is to find them and destroy them. Sounds easy, Kiba said. Everyone but Issei nodded. Issei walked beside Naruto feeling a huge twinge of fear and anticipation. Issei, since you just awakened your sacred gear today, you'll hang back with me and watch as we deal with this threat, Ria stated as she stood before everyone and opened the doors. Naruto slipped on some leather gloves as Kaneko pulled on a pair of boxing gloves. Kiba drew his sword and Akino smirked sensually as she smiled in anticipation. Kiba, Naruto, and Kaneko entered the building, all on alert with Rias and Issei following behind them. Now Issei, I explained how each piece in chess works, not let me explain what they do in devil-evil piece terms, Rias said as there was movement deeper within the building, more so on the ceiling. I smell flesh. A smooth, sensual voice spoke as the stray moved closer. She had a human-like appearance from the thighs up, naked, but the rest of her body looked like it was torn from Tim Burton's Beetlejuice's wettest dream. It was like a chimera's body with a gaping mouth, closed, and a long snake tail that could crush any one of them. Issei exclaimed happily and somewhat terrified. I see a Gremry slut and her gang of merry fucks have come to my humble abode. The stray said as her face contorted into a sickening smile. Visser, you betrayed your master to fulfill the desires you have. Ria stated, her posture that of one of power and elegance. In the name of the great Gremry family, be gone or meet your death. Visser grabbed her breast and massaged them. Shut the fuck up, Gremry slut. You're just jealous that your breasts aren't as great as mine. Visser said as she laughed and continued to massage herself. This is your final warning, Visser. Rias continued. Go back to your master now. Kiba, Akino, Naruto, and Kaneko dispersed while Rias grabbed Issei and moved out of the way. The yellow blast hit the wall and melted the areas they hid away. Oh shit! Issei shouted as he called forth his sacred gear. Kiba! Rias shouted as she and Issei recovered. On it, Bucho. Kiba responded as he seemingly vanished. Wow, he vanished? Issei exclaimed as he could not see Kiba. No, he didn't. Rias said as she helped Issei up. When reincarnated devils are gifted with a night piece, they gain immense speed. Kiba is blessed with these and a sacred gear called Sword Birth, thus his ultimate attack weapon is his sword. Issei watched as Visser's arms were sliced off, causing her to scream in pain as blood gushed out of them. Kaneko stepped before Visser with Naruto behind the stray. Visser grit her teeth and roared. The upper torso of her chimera-like body opened its mouth, revealing very large teeth. Watch out, Naruto, Kaneko! Issei shouted as Visser went to attack Kaneko. Visser's mouth successfully closed around the small girl. Visser chuckled as she tried to chew her prey, only to have it forced open from within. Kaneko's clothes were torn here and there, revealing her bra and panties. Don't worry about those two, Issei, Ria said calmly. In the game of chess, they are my rooks, with simple attributes. They gain immense physical strength and enhance durability, making them tanks in a way. Hey Naruto-kun! Kaneko called out. Time for some volleyball. Right. Naruto called back, getting ready. Kaneko, with one arm still holding the mouth open, punched through the stray's teeth, jumped out and punched the chimera underbelly, launching Visser up into the air. Set! Kaneko shouted. Visser came down fast as Naruto clenched his fist and spread his legs. Serve! He shouted as he spun-kicked Visser back into the air. Kaneko jumped into the air, and once about Visser, her hands clasped over her head for a sledgehammer. And spike! Kaneko shouted as she slammed her raised hands into the stray's body once again. The force was so great that it knocked out some more of Visser's teeth and cracked/broke several of her bones. Note to self, never piss them off. Issei said as he watched Naruto hand his school jacket to Kaneko to cover her up. Akino, it's time. Ria said as her queen smiled. Is it that time already? Akino asked as she licked her lips. Issei chuckled perversely at that when he saw one of Visser's cut arms levitate and head towards Rias. Watch out! He shouted as he jumped forward, pushed Rias away, and punched the appendage with his armored hand. Ow, thanks for that save, Issei. Rias said sincerely. Chest puff out, well I am your pawn, so I'll always be there to protect my king Rias. He stated proudly, very happy that he could help out, even if it wasn't as grand as the others. Rias smiled as she stood up. Alright Akino, set her up so we can finish her off. Rias ordered. The smirk on Akino's face got more heated as she stepped closer to the stray. You know, you aren't the only one who loves to play rough, she stated as she summoned forth lightning from her hands. Akino is my queen, Issei, Rias told him. She has the combination of the rook, the knight, and the bishop. She is unbeatable. Visser roared and glared at Akino. Ooh, you can still go? Akino asked gleefully as she raised her hands above her head. Goody for me because I can play more. She is also into SM, Rias informed Issei, whose face widened in shock. Wait, you mean she gets off on this type of stuff? Issei asked as he pointed at Akino. Is it as good for you as it is for me, baby? Akino asked. While Issei, Rias, and Kiba thought that she was asking Visser this question, when in fact, she was looking at Naruto out in the corner of her eye. Naruto shivered and was glad he had his mask, which hid his blush and helped keep him from smelling nasty odors. Kaneko, unfortunately, had to pinch her nose from the amount of sex pheromones Akino was releasing. Stupid sadist. Kaneko thought as she watched Akino scorch the stray, who was screaming. That's enough, Akino. She's had enough. Rias ordered. Really? Akino asked childishly. She lowered her hands and cupped her face with her left hand. It's over already? And I was just about to enjoy myself. Her eyes narrowed as she glanced at Naruto. She caught his eye and licked her lips hungrily. Naruto shivered again. He knew of Akino's sadism, so he did fear for his life. Kaneko, who also saw this, gripped Naruto's arm and glared at Akino. This was interpreted as "you want him, came and try it" by Akino, who smirked at a challenge. Visser groaned in pain as she opened her eyes to see Rias standing over her. Any last words? Rias asked as she spread her arms to make a magic circle. Go to hell. Visser gasped out. Rias smirked, then scowled. Alright then. Rias said as black magic energy with red edges covered the magic circle. Game over. The energy shot from the circle and hit the stray, obliterating her without a trace. Issei looked on in awe. The light from Rias's attack died down as she turned around. We're done here, she stated with a warm smile. Let's go home. Sounds good. Everyone but Issei said. So is this what devils do now? Issei asked, getting everyone's attention. It is a part of what we do, Kiba answered. If we aren't slaying strays, then we usually take care of our contracts. How do we normally do contracts? Issei asked since Naruto had offered to teleport him to Milton's place the night before. Yeah, those flyers you and I were passing out today, Naruto replied. Those papers let the person summon one of use, who though depends on the strength of the person's desire. So, if that fallen angel killed me then, you would have summoned me, Rias said as she walked up to Issei and hugged him. Thank you again for saving me, Issei. Issei blushed as he felt her cleavage press against him. Yeah, and no problem, Bucho, he said as he looked anywhere but Rias. Naruto smiled under his mask. You've got a long way to go, Issei, but I believe in you. Naruto wrapped an arm around Kaneko, making her blush, as he teleported the two of them home. Next morning, shit. I'm going to be late, Issei shouted as he threw on his clothes, shoes, and grabbed his bag before running out the door. 10 minutes pass, 5 of them being wasted as he had to wait at a stoplight. Issei was still rushing off to school. He made a sharp turn before he slammed into someone, knocking them and himself over. Few blocks away, sniff, Naruto was looking for Issei since the latter hadn't shown up for school. He was the only one able to leave since Kurama could act as his stand-in and take notes for him, even though his writing was still bad. Naruto sighed as he followed Issei's scent and eventually found him, 1 block ahead, with what appeared to be a nun talking as if they were long-time friends. Oh crap, Naruto thought. He was about to rush over and grab Issei, but then he sensed a sacred gear from the girl and her aura. It was warm and filled with immense kindness. However, deep beneath it were strings of terrible sadness and want. Closing his eyes and scratching his head, Naruto made his way to the two and tapped Issei on the shoulder, causing the brown-haired boy to jump. Sorry for scarring you, Issei-san, but you are late for school and so am I, Naruto said before looking at the girl. She wore a nun hood, a silver cross necklace, and a greenish-blue-gray nun dress with many crosses on the lapels. Her hair was long, near her waistline. It was the same shade of blonde as his. Her eyes were bright lime green eyes that were captivating. Sorry if my friend was bothering you, Naruto said casually. It is fine, she said in broken speech. Naruto quirked an eyebrow. She is a foreigner, he thought. And her accent is that of an Sono Naruto Uzumaki. Parlo Italiano quindi, per favor, parla nella lingua in cui ti trovi più a tuo agio. I am Naruto Uzumaki. I speak Italian, so please, speak in the language you are most comfortable in. He spoke fluently. The girl was stunned before gaining her composure. Mi chiamo Asia Argento. A bello connoisseur, Naruto. My name is Asia Argento. It is nice to meet you, Naruto. The now named Asia answered in fluent and perfect Italian. Issei knew they were speaking a different language. He could tell by the movement of their lips, and their voices did not match it. It was like watching a dubbed version of an anime or an old Godzilla film. Stai andando in chiesa? Are you on your way to the church? Naruto asked as he continued to talk to Asia. Si lo sono. Issei mi stava accompagnando prima che ti presentassi. Yes, I am. Issei was accompanying me before you showed up, Asia answered as she pointed to the church on the hill. Immediately, Naruto's devil instincts kicked in, sending warnings to him that the place was dangerous. This was natural for all devils, but for some reason it was stronger than normal. Va bene, ti lascio a voi due. Andrò a scuola e inventerò una scusa per essere in ritardo. Alright, I'll leave you two to that. I'll go to school and make up an excuse for being late, Naruto said as he walked off, waving goodbye lazily. After school. Slap! Issei grabbed his cheek while Naruto did not flinch. They were in the ORC club room. Akino and Kiba were off doing contracts while Kaneko was there eating some snacks from the table. You went to the church and not only that, befriended the enemy, Rias said angrily. And you just let him do it? Yes, Rias, I let him do it, Naruto said calmly. She had no idea how to get there, so I don't see why you are so mad. Yeah, I told you about the intense feelings I got from the church, but why is it so bad? Because that is where the fallen could have taken refuge, Rias informed. So I forbid both of you from seeing her again. Issei's eyes opened wide. But Bucho, no buts, Issei, Rias said. I don't want you to die, so for your safety, don't go near there. Issei looked at the ground. He remembered the heartache he felt when Asia told him her story, from awakening her sacred gear, to being excommunicated from the church for healing a devil. She deserves better than what she has gotten. Issei thought before Rias sighed. On another note, Kaneko is swamped with requests, so could you take one of them? Rias asked seriously. Sure, no problem. Issei answered. Good. Rias said as she looked out the window. Do try to bring back a contract, and don't disappoint me. Issei looked at the ground. Yeah, will do. He slowly made his way out to get on his bike. He found out that with his little magic power, he could not use teleport circles, so he used the bike to get from his last few clients, except his first one, which was Milton. Naruto walked up to Rias and looked out the window also. He is doing his best, Rias. Naruto said as Issei got on his bike and pedaled off. So you did not need to put him down like that. Rias sighed and walked away. What I do to show him how serious this is should not be a concern of yours, Naruto. Rias said as she teleported to an important meeting with Sona Citri. Naruto walked over to Kaneko and sat on the couch. Did you really have so many contracts tonight? He asked. No, just 3. Kaneko replied, swallowing the snack she was eating. Bucho wants the pervert to get more possible contracts, so I offered him a simple on. Really? Who was it this time? Naruto asked. He knew Issei took one of Kaneko's regulars before, the man who had a great manga collection that Rias would be jealous of. Mr. Takamichi, the guy that liked to play games. Kaneko answered as she went to grab another snack, but was pulled into Naruto's lap, facing away from him. What are you? She tried to ask before she saw a cookie with chocolate chips in his hand. He was holding it up to her mouth. I enjoyed doing this when we were younger. Naruto said as he used his other hand to brush through her silky white hair, causing her to purr. Kaneko knew what he was talking about. It was just before Kiba joined them, but after Gasper did. After she started to get to know him, she would spend a lot of time with him, and a few times she sat on his lap when they ate, making him feed her and pet her. Venelana had laughed like any mother and Xiaotaka smiled. Akino chuckled perversely. Gasper did not do anything since he kept to his room. Rias was jealous and had forbid them to do it again after the third night of this. Kaneko smiled and took a bite of the cookie he offered. I miss this feeling, she thought as she happily chewed. She had done this with her sister years before she was turned into a devil. After Kuroka had been turned, she was usually busy dealing with whatever thing her master had her do, leaving her little time with Kaneko. It all stopped when Kuroka had killed her master and abandoned her. They stayed like this for 40 minutes as Naruto smiled under his mask. He was always happy when Kaneko was happy. Kaneko relaxed and leaned back until Naruto's head was resting on her shoulder. She moaned a bit when Naruto's hand found where her cat ears were and gave them some attention. Kaneko swallowed the cookie she had in her mouth and turned her head to look at him. Naruto-kun. Yes, Kaneko-chan? Kaneko's face was flushed red and she was breathing heavily as he massaged her ears. She was pressing her thighs together, making her grind slightly into his legs. Naruto-kun, she slurred. I want. Kaneko was interrupted when Naruto's phone went off. Its loud ringtone knocking Kaneko out of her dazed state, and she removed herself from his lap. Oh, Lucifer-sama, that was close, she thought as she looked over her shoulder to make sure Naruto was focused on his phone. Kaneko pressed her thighs again and nodded on confirmation. She would have to change her panties. Alright, we'll be right there, Naruto said as he hung up his phone and turned to Kaneko. Kaneko-chan, Issei-san has been attacked, so we need to go now. Kaneko wanted to protest, but had no time to do so when he grabbed her and they were teleported to Issei's location. Once the circle vanished, the two of them looked around and saw Akino and Rias next to them while Kiba was clashing swords with a pale-haired exorcist who had a blade of light and a gun. More shitty devils for the mighty freed to slay, he cried out joyfully, his tongue out and his eyes wide in a maniacal way. Issei was on the floor, holes in each of his legs and a long slash on his back with blood flowing through half-healed wounds. Besides him, Asia was there, covering her chest as Naruto could see that her clothes and bra had been slashed. She had no injuries, but it still angered Naruto. Said Devil lunged from his spot. Kiba ducked as Naruto sailed over him and punched freed away from his friend and into the wall, imprinting it. Asia, cosa a successo? Asia, what happened? Naruto asked. Asia looked up when she heard her name and saw Naruto there, shocking her. Sei ancha un diavolo, Naruto? You are also a devil, Naruto? She asked, scared out of her mind. Naruto nodded and returned his attention to Freed, who was getting out of the hole he made. How dare you attack me, you piece of shit? Freed shouted as he pointed his gun at Naruto, who brought his arms into a X-guard in front of him. No! Kaneko and Asia shouted. The bullet landed on the ground harmlessly as Naruto smirked. As if a little holy bullet could break through my defense? Naruto said. At least while I'm coating my arms in magic to make them stronger. It still hurt, but at least he can effectively stop a bullet without risking death. Well, shit! Freed cursed before he smirked evilly. There are fallen angels outside. Kaneko shouted as Freed started to laugh. What are you going to do now, shitty devils? He asked sarcastically. You are surrounded. His response was a couch pushing him through the wall, courtesy of Kaneko. Naruto, we need to grab Issei and go, Kiba said as he grabbed Issei. We need to take Asia also. Issei cried out as he looked at her. She can't teleport with us. Akino informed. Only those who are members of the Gremry peerage can use it. It's okay, Issei, she said with a sad smile and tears running down her face. She passed out from all the excitement her body dealt with the last few minutes. Asia! He shouted before Kaneko knocked him out. Come on, Naruto, the fallen are closing in. Rias ordered. No, go on ahead, Naruto said as he had a small blue summon circle appear. Kurama popped out and landed on his shoulder. I'll bring Asia and you can ask her if she wants to become a devil. No, Naruto! Rias shouted. The circle was forcefully activated when Naruto put his magic into it, leaving him and Kurama with Asia. Alright, Kurama, it's time to hide, Naruto said as he grabbed Asia in bridal style, making sure she was covered to keep her modesty. Kurama nodded and activated his magic to make them invisible and their presence masked. It would probably hide them for a few minutes since some of the fallen could have strong sensing abilities, so Naruto booked it through the hole in the wall, making sure to step on Fried's face and made his way home. Next day, early morning, before school, Naruto and Kaneko's apartment. Asia was crying tears of joy when Issei hugged her tightly while Naruto, Kaneko, and Rias watched the two. Asia had stayed in Kaneko's room the night before, also was lent some of Kaneko's clothes which were a little tight but were better than nothing. She had woken up that morning and screamed, causing Kaneko to rush in to try to calm her down. After a nice breakfast, Naruto called Rias to have her and Issei come over. I am so sorry that I did not tell you I was a devil, Asia. Issei apologized. I wanted to be the friend you wanted, but I lied to you. Asia's heartstrings were pulled in more ways than one. She had wanted friends for a long time, not like the people she lived with while she was with the church, but people her age. I was taught to forgive those who ask for forgiveness, she said as she looked at him with more tears in her smiling face. So I forgive you, Issei. Issei smiled and hugged her again, it being reciprocated by Asia. I am happy for them, but we need to move along, Rias thought as she coughed into her hands, getting their attention. As happy as I am for your reunion, I would like to talk to you, Asia, Rias said calmly. Naruto raised an eyebrow. So, is she going to ask about Asia joining us, or something else? He thought. He honestly wanted the former since Asia was a very sweet girl and deserved a family. Although Naruto had some issues with Rias, he still cared for her. May I ask who you are? Asia asked in slightly better speech as she and Issei sat on the seats opposite of her. I would like to ask you to become my bishop? Rias asked as she placed the red bishop piece on the dinner table. I don't know, Asia said as she looked at Rias and at Issei. I know that Naruto and Issei are nice people, but I know nothing about you, and I am still processing what happened. Issei placed a hand on hers. He remembered what Fried had done. He had touched and groped Asia in front of him the night before, and she was still coping with it. Asia, Rias is a very loving person, Naruto said. She and the other members of her clan treat their peerage members like family. So if you join us, you will have friends and will have a chance to go to school. You'll be able to live a better life, one not controlled by the fallen angels. You'll be able to make your own decisions. Asia thought very hard on his words. She wanted to go to school and she wanted to have friends. However, will I be able to go to heaven if I become a devil? She asked in a scared tone. Naruto was afraid of this question. He had no clue if reincarnated devils would be able to go to heaven. It was a loaded barrel and no matter what he said, that bullet would hit something. Who cares if you go to heaven? Everyone's attention was immediately glued to Kaneko, who was sitting next to Naruto. If you make the best of the life you have, then will it matter if you go to heaven? You won't go to hell, being a devil and all, so you don't need to worry about that, Kaneko said in a matter-of-fact tone. Naruto wanted to face-palm and Rias wanted to reprimand her, but they were stopped when Asia placed her hands against her chest, eyes closed. Silence reigned supreme for several minutes before her eyes opened again, firm in her decision. Church, damn you, Fried! Reiner shouted as she punched him. I'm sorry, Reiner-sama, the ex-priest said as he was kicked in the face by the angry fallen. Take it easy, Reiner, Millet said as she floated next to her boss. No, keep it up, Donasik said as he glared at the priest. He failed and even worse, he lost the girl. I can find her and bring her back. Fried tried to plead, but was thrown across the room, again, almost hitting Calawarner. Watch where you throw your toys, Reiner. Calawarner snapped as she dodged a flying Fried. Shut up, Calawarner, Reiner shouted as she stormed out of the room, kicking Fried once more, and made her way to the underground sanctum. She needs to find a better way than doing that to let out her frustrations, Millet said as she landed on the floor. She need to get laid. Oh, like you did 3 centuries ago? Donasik asked with a smirk. Yeah, like I fuck you, Co-Academy. My name is Asia Argento, Asia said in perfect speech, no problem since she became Rias's bishop. I am very pleased to meet you and I hope we can all be friends. Asia bowed to them, worried that she messed up before the class exploded with chatter. Naruto smiled under his mask as he watched the students ask Asia about herself. Many of the males asking personal questions to which Asia, being the innocent and pure girl she was, had no idea what they were meaning. This really irritated Issei to no end. Do you have any siblings? A random female student asked. Yes. I have an older twin brother, Asia said as her face became a light shade of pink before she pointed at Naruto. Naruto-ni is my brother. Everyone looked at Naruto. Our parents divorced shortly after we were born. I took our mother's name and Asia took our father's name. Naruto answered, giving them the false story. It worked very well, since Naruto never told anyone about his family or home life. Our parents recently died, so Asia came to Japan to live with me with our aunt from now on. Many female students squealed. It was so cute to have a caring older brother. It was not Naruto's idea. In fact, it was Issei's. He had pointed out that their hair was the same shade so they could pass off as twins. Naruto actually cooked him an amazing breakfast for such a good idea. Naruto also thought Issei wanted Naruto to know that he wanted to be with her, so Naruto let him know he was not going to pursue Asia. The teacher reined in the class and pointed towards the empty seat in front of Naruto, besides Issei. During the small break between classes, many females continued to ask Asia questions. Many of the males bombarded Naruto with questions about Asia, and he ignored all of them. If Asia was going to pretend to be his sister, then he would act like any brother would. He soon said that none of them were allowed to touch Asia. This did not count for Issei. After class, Naruto, Kaneko, Asia and Issei were walking off of school campus together. Rias had decided to let the group have the night off since the night before was really hectic. So, Asia-chan's first day was good. Kaneko asked as she walked next to Naruto. Yes, I enjoyed myself and everyone was so nice. Asia said. It was even better with Issei-kun and Naruto and I. Asia missed the angry look Kaneko gave her when Naruto patted Asia on the head. Well, we should go home, you guys. Naruto said to the three of them. Since Asia was probably being hunted by the Fallen and Issei wasn't that strong yet, Naruto suggested that the two of them live with him and Kaneko so they could protect Asia together. When the heat dies down, Asia could move in with Issei since she said she wanted to live with him. The small group of merry devils made it to their destination with no problems. Naruto and Kaneko changed out of their school clothes into their sleepwear. A large overshirt and shorts was going to wear for now since Issei was there. For Kaneko and a tank top and shorts for Naruto. The group did their homework. Naruto and Issei each taking point in helping Asia with her language and history homework. Kaneko scowled, but knew that the moment Asia left to go live with Issei, Naruto's attention would be back on her. After an hour and a half of homework, Naruto and Asia started making dinner. Naruto had tried to argue that since she was a guest in his house she did not have to cook, but she countered that she must repay him for all the trouble she caused him. The trouble was another spanking from Rias. She did this after reincarnating Asia that morning. Issei and Kaneko sat at the table in silence as the two blondes talked and cooked happily. Issei smiled happily as Kaneko watched the two in the kitchen. Her grip could break the table if it wasn't reinforced with magic. Naruto-ni, can I ask you a question? Asia asked. You just did. Naruto chuckled as her cheeks puffed out. But go right ahead. Well, I was wondering why you wear that mask. Asia said as she pulled out the plates. Naruto paused. Asia immediately knew she hit a sensitive subject when she saw the forlorn look in his blue eyes. I'm sorry. You don't have to answer if you don't want to. Asia stammered as she felt him grab her hand gently. It's alright. Naruto said. I need to tell you both anyway. I just hoped that it would not have been so soon. Asia nodded and the two of them finished preparing the food in silence. Issei and Kaneko saw the awkward distance the two blondes had between them. After setting the plates down and filling them with rice and curry, Naruto sat next to Kaneko and Asia next to Issei. Naruto pushed the button on his mask to open it, showing his face to Asia for the second time that day. Asia, Issei, I am not what you call a normal reincarnated devil. Naruto said as he took his spoon and began to eat. I actually wasn't human when I was reincarnated. Asia and Issei leaned forward and focused on what Naruto was saying. I lived in Italy. I was in an orphanage for 6 years. Naruto said. One day, 10 years ago, we were attacked by demons. Somehow I was teleported to the underworld and was bitten by a vampire. Naruto pointed to the right side of his neck. Issei and Asia saw 2 very faint bite marks. So you became a vampire? Issei asked. Naruto gave a sad chuckle as he ate more curry. There are 2 things that can happen when one is bitten by a very powerful vampire. They either die or degenerate into a ghoul. Naruto said as he looked at his 2 friends. The latter happened, and I wandered the underworld for an unknown amount of time, killing and eating civilian devils until Lucifer-sama stopped me and gave me to Rias. Naruto took a breath. This mask was designed by another one of the Mao, Beelzebub-sama, to keep me from biting others, and this seal. He pulled down the front of his tank top to show the seal. To keep my ghoul urges at bay. So that is why you didn't go out of your way to make friends at school? Issei asked. I'm terrified that I'll snap and kill and eat humans. Naruto stated loudly as he started to shake. I'm a monster, and yet I am roaming around people like I'm not. I'm a cursed being that should have been killed. He dropped his spoon and wrapped his arms around himself, his mask closing over his mouth as he started to breathe heavily. His pupils dilated and he started to sweat. Kaneko grabbed his hand and gently squeezed it, trying to comfort him. Asia started to feel her eyes water. She could feel his resentment towards himself, and did what she could. She summoned her twilight healing, and walked up to the troubled teen. Kaneko wanted to tell her to not touch him, but she let Asia lay her hands on Naruto's head, a pale green magic aura emitting from her hands and into his body. Naruto felt his eyes grow heavy and his muscles relax. He drifted off to sleep and leaned onto Kaneko. Sorry about that, Kaneko said, running her hand through his hair. He cares about you two very much, so he was afraid of you being scared of him and treating him like a monster. I would never do that, Issei shouted, slamming his hand against the table. He has helped me so much since I became a devil, so I would never turn my back on my friend. Naruto and I isn't scary. He is a kind and gentle person, Asia said. I may have only known him for a day, but he has been so nice to me and helpful that I won't abandon him. Kaneko smiled at these words. More for Asia than Issei, but still, he would be extremely happy to hear you say that, Kaneko said as she stood up and pulled Naruto up from his chair. I'll go put him to bed. Please finish dinner and clean the dishes, Issei. Okay, Issei said as he ate his food. Kaneko made her way up the stairs and into Naruto's room. She placed him on his bed and pulled his blanket over him. Kaneko patted his head again and then pushed the button on his mask, opening it. I'll never leave you, Naruto, Kaneko whispered very quietly. She leaned in and gently pecked his lips. Kaneko pulled back, flushed red, and pushed the button again to close his mask. Because I love you very much, Naruto. While this was going on, Midlet flew back to the church to tell Rainier of her findings. After school, next day, Friday, Issei and Asia stayed late to clean the classroom. Kaneko and Naruto, who had returned to his normal self, had offered to wait for them, but they denied it and said they'd meet them back at their apartment. After they finished, the two devils made their way to their temporary home, when a pink light spear landed into the ground before them. Shit, Issei said as he called forth his sacred gear as his right hand pushing Asia behind him. Rainier and Nilet appeared before them with Kalwarner and Donasik behind them. Been a while, Asia, Issei, Rainier said sarcastically. Oh, it seems that you turned your back on God by becoming a devil, Asia. Asia felt her heart drop a bit. Shut up, bitch, Issei shouted. I know fallen angels also turn their backs to him, so you have no right to point fingers. All the fallen angels laughed. That's rich coming from him, Kalwarner said as she formed her own light weapon. Never thought I'd hear that from a devil, Donasik stated as he also made his weapon. I'm going to enjoy his tortured face while he watches Rainier take that girl's sacred gear, Nilet said, laughing as she made a spear. All four of them made a move to attack before a spire of fire erupted in front of the two young devils. Kurama was revealed, in his bigger size, baring his fangs to the fallen. Careful, this is the fox that can use very powerful illusion magic, Rainier warned as she made a second spear. Kurama looked at the two fallen before him and felt the two behind him. Donasik rushed forward from above, making to pin Kurama down. Kurama vanished and reappeared beside him. His human-like paw clenched and punched the fallen out of the sky. Donasik felt his back crack, but then it broke when the fox slammed into him. Ack! He cried out before he was silenced from Kurama chomping down on his neck. Shit, that thing is powerful, Kalwarner said in shock. Kurama turned to see Midlet and Kalwarner attack him. He jumped back, evading their weapons. Meanwhile, Rainier had attacked Issei and Asia. Asia was pinned to the wall as her uniform was tattered while Issei had been stabbed again in both legs. You are a real letdown boy, Rainier said as she looked down on the devil. You attacked as if your sacred gear was all that. But even with the twice critical's ability to double one's power every 10 seconds isn't really useful. Issei screamed in pain as Rainier pulled the spears out of his legs. I wanted to make you watch as I kill this girl, but with the fox here I can't do that, no, Rainier said as she made her way to Asia. Rainier grabbed the former nun by the throat and slapped her. That is what you get for running away, and so I hope you enjoy the little time of living you have left. I need to stop her, Issei thought as he gasped in pain. God, no. I can't ask him. Lucifer-sama, give me power to kill this bitch. I need to save Asia. A blinding green light blazed from Issei's sacred gear. It shattered then reformed with the green gem still on the back of his hand. His fingers now covered in clawed finger armor. The armor now covered the top and bottom of his arm, and had two golden spikes near his elbow. Boost! An ancient powerful voice cried from the red gauntlet as Issei felt immense power flow through his body. This is not happening, Rainier shouted. It's just a twice critical. There is no way you could gain this much power from a single boost. Rainier threw her spear at Issei, who batted it aside, not being harmed as he did. Issei then lunged at the shocked fallen and grabbed her by the wing as she tried to fly away. Where do you think you're going? He asked as he gathered all the magic he could muster. He pushed it into his sacred gear as he slammed his left hand across her face, sending her flying into the sky and away from them. Issei ignored the pain in his legs and made his way to Asia. Issei, you're hurt, she said concerned as he let her down. She immediately started to heal his legs. Kurama smiled and his tail wagged as he sat nearby, the broken and dead bodies of Kalwarner, her chest ripped open, and Nilet, her legs removed as she bled out, behind him near Donasik's corpse. We need to get home, Asia, Issei said as he stood up, even though Asia hadn't finished healing them. Kurama walked next to them and motioned for them to climb onto him. Helping Issei on with his tail, Asia climbed on and grasped his fur. She felt his magic cover her, and Issei while Kurama started to move. Kaneko heard a knock at her door, opening it to see an injured pervert, a scuffed-up ex-nun, and a happy blood-covered fox the size of a cat jumping into her arms, covering her in blood. So fallen angels? Kaneko asked. Yeah, they tried to take Asia. Issei gasped out as he fell through the doorway. I see that your sacred gear wasn't what we thought it was, Kaneko said as she saw the different gauntlet on his arm. Kaneko-chan, please help me, Asia asked as she tried to drag Issei in the house. Where is Naruto-ni? He went on a walk a few minutes ago when Kurama vanished, Kaneko said as she used one hand to drag the male devil into the apartment. She turned her sights on the small fox in her other arm. And I'll have to give you a bath, Kurama groaned. He did not like baths, but since it was Kaneko, he would deal with it. Forest. Rainier stumbled as she pushed magic into her body to numb it. Cocky son of a bitch, she thought as she could not see out of her left eye. I'll kill him next time I see him. Good to see that Issei-san did not fall into the evil grips of revenge, a voice said. Proud to know he got a good hit in. Rainier gasped when she realized that a hand grasped and crushed her throat. Naruto watched as the life drained from the woman's eyes as he killed her. Rainier's body slacked. You should eat her, a graveled voice echoed in his head as her blood is still warm and will be tasty. Naruto shook his head and dropped Rainier's corpse. Naruto took a deep breath and relaxed. The voice was gone for now. Whenever he fought life or death fights, his instincts to devour, kill, and drink from his opponents always whispered in his ear. Now to get rid of this body and clean up Kurama's mess, Naruto said as he incinerated the body with his magic. Chapter 3, done. Chapter 4, Familiars and Phoenixes. Naruto scratched under Kurama's blood-free chin as the young kid snuggled against him. Naruto was sitting on his roof with the Naruto had finished destroying the bodies and cleaning all the blood Kurama spilt from his foes. It would be bad if any human stumbled upon a pile of bodies and blood, especially since the fallen angels had their wings out. Kaneko was sleeping in her room. Issei and Asia were in the guest room sleeping quietly as well, naked even, but that was not a problem as long as the door to the room was closed. Naruto looked up at the waning, fading, gibbous moon. Ria said she talked to Sona about familiars soon. He thought as he inhaled the frigid air. I hope she remembered because it is a headache when she and Sona butt heads. Kurama pawed at his chest to get his attention. Naruto looked down at his furry friend only to get attacked by Kurama's loving chuckle. Always able to make me feel better, aren't you, Kurama? Naruto asked as the kitsune rubbed his head against Naruto's neck like a cat. Naruto checked his watch and saw the time. About time I went to sleep, he thought as he made sure he had a hold on Kurama and made his way down the wall and through his window. Next morning, so she's dead? Asia asked as the 4 residents of the apartment ate cereal. Naruto had woken up a half-hour late and decided to do something quick and easy. Yeah, she is, Naruto answered tiredly. Kurama nudged his master's hand in concern to get his head rubbed. Your last attack, Issei-san, seemed to have blinded her a bit. Really? Issei asked eagerly. She deserved much more than a swift death. Revenge is poison, Issei-san, Naruto said wisely. Everyone that wasn't Naruto looked at him. I won't let you lose sight of your dream and want for revenge, Naruto said. It's a fool's want, killing for the sake of killing. All 3 agreed with him, but they proceeded to eat in silence. Sadly, Naruto continued. I can't say that I didn't personally want to enjoy killing her. To feel the power of being the one to decide their fate, if they live or die. This set Kaneko on edge. It is an addictive feeling, Naruto continued. Anyone, even angels, can get lost in that feeling. Which is why I don't want you needlessly killing people, Issei-san. I agree, Naruto, Issei responded. I don't want you to either, Naruto. Also, you can call me Issei now. Really? Naruto questioned with a raised eyebrow. Of course, Issei stated as he finished his cereal. After all you have done for me, it is what I want to do to repay you. You'll have to do more than that to repay him, pervert, Kaneko blurted out blandly as she finished her glass of milk. Skip. To say Issei's parents were shocked was a massive understatement. Rias, Issei, and Asia, along with Asia's belongings, told Goru and Shirare, she is unnamed, so this is what I'm calling Issei's mom, that Asia wanted to live with them. They were overjoyed and ecstatic that their good-for-nothing son was doing something right. Asia cried tears of joy as she was accepted into the Hayato family as their unofficial daughter. Rias had calmed down a slight bit when she found out, and clarified that Issei's sacred gear was the boosted gear. But she was still on edge about her upcoming marriage, so she decided that Issei needed to start training. Naruto chuckled as he walked past the park one weekend, having gone grocery shopping, when he saw Rias's attempt at starting Issei's training. It was very pathetic in his eyes. Not that Issei wanted to get stronger, but Rias's way of going about it. Ko Academy. 5 days later, Naruto stood by his peerage family while Sona stood before them with hers. He drowned out the starting argument that Rias and Sona were having about the familiar setup, and he thought about the past week. Over the week, Rias and Issei had trained every day after school. They even did a few contract jobs together and bonded. Issei even asked Naruto what Rias was like when they were children. He was shocked when he found out that Rias was a huge anime/manga fan and would remember that for later. He also learned from Naruto that she really hadn't changed that much until recently, and when asked what caused the change, Naruto chuckled and told Issei that he would find out eventually. I usher a challenge, Rias? Sona said as she pushed her glasses up. Oh, a challenge you say? Rias asked eagerly. Yes, I purpose a match in sports. Sona said confidently. I would challenge you to a rating game, but we can't, so sports are our next best option. I accept. Rias said equally confident. The kings dismissed their peerages except their queens to talk and get to know each other while they decided on what sports they should do. The remaining 6 members of Sona's peerage walked besides Rias's peerage. So, you are the newest pawn to Rias Hayato? The only male of Sona's group. Yeah, who are you? Issei asked aggressively as he saw the guy gaze at Asia earlier. Named Saji. I am also a pawn, Saji said as he extended his hand. Issei shook Saji's hand and then both boys increased their grips. It sucks that I have to share a connection with one of the perverted trio, Saji said aggressively as they continued to try to break the other's hand. Yeah, fuck you too, Issei replied. They were broken up when Momo, another one of Sona's members, pulled Saji away by the cheek and Naruto chopped Issei's head. Sorry about that. Momo apologized, bowing slightly. He is a new member to this life, so please forgive him. No, the fault is ours, Naruto said in response. The 2 peerages started to talk amongst themselves, with Kaneko clinging to Naruto not wanting the other females of Sona's peerage to hit on Naruto. After 20 minutes, the 2 kings agreed on a tennis match. The tennis match was Rias and Akino versus Sona and Tsubaki. The game was pretty heated, both teams giving it their all and playing to win. The game got so good that many of the students walking by stopped to watch. Eventually many more students showed up to watch. Issei, Motohama, and Matsuda were watching with perverse smiles as the skirts of the players were flipping up revealing their panties. Kiba and the rest of Sona's peerage watched it as if it was any normal tennis match. Naruto and Kaneko however were playing Pokemon Sun and Moon, battling each other while they waited for the waste of time to finish. Eventually, Rias and Sona got fed up and added their magic into their rackets. Seeing this, Kiba and Sona's peerage forced all the people who weren't devils to sleep. In the end, the match was a draw. Rias and Sona had destroyed the equipment so they had decided to play dodgeball in a few hours. ORC Clubroom. Issei and Asia were lounging in the clubroom during the break between challenges. I hope they all enjoy them, Asia said happily as she and Issei made custom sport headbands. Yeah, I do too, Issei agreed as he finished the one he was working on. Issei-kun, Asia said somewhat quietly. Do you think Naruto and I will like them? Issei looked at Asia's face, which wore concern and a small amount of anxiety. I'm sure he will, especially since you helped make them, Issei said with as much confidence as he could to cheer the blonde up. You are his little sister, so any big brother would be happy to get anything from their siblings. Asia smiled as she began to work on one for Naruto. Later that day, Ko Academy locker rooms. This is ridiculous, getting us involved, Naruto said as he changed into his pea clothes, sweatpants and a sweatshirt. They could have just gone together to get their familiars. Well, the master of the forest does have the one peerage at a time rule, Naruto, Kiba reminded as he finished changing into the same uniform as Naruto. It's stupid, Naruto retorted as he also finished. Issei had stayed silent as he changed with the memories of the student presidents, the vice presidents, Rias's, and Akino's panties still in his mind. Come on, Issei, Naruto said as he grabbed the boy, dragging him out, kicking and screaming, dragging a small bag of his own out with him. They made their way to the gym, where the girls patiently waited. Rias was wearing a red version of what the boys were as Kaneko, Asia, and Akino wore the standard pea shirt and bloomers. Issei chuckled perversely as he saw the curvature of the female ORC members' butts, only to stop when a rubber ball slammed into his face, knocking him off his feet and to the floor. Stupid perv, Kaneko stated angrily. Only Naruto-kun can look at me like that. Asia healed Issei's broken and bleeding nose before the Gremmy group started their stretches. Just a little more, Asia, Akino said as she gently pushed Asia down to loosen her leg muscles. My legs hurt, Asia said dramatically as she wasn't normally an athletic person, so most of the muscles in her body were tense. Chuckle, it won't soon enough, Akino whispered into Asia's ear as she continued to apply pressure. Issei watched this, some drool dripped out of the corners of his mouth. This is just like my dreams, he thought. Just they have their clothes on. Naruto, who was helping Issei, conked Issei in the head. Hey, get your head out of the gutter. This is important to you and Asia because if we lose you won't get your familiars for another month. You can't say you don't enjoy the view. Issei shot back as he glanced at Kaneko and Rias. Kaneko and Rias were back to back, helping each other stretch their shoulders out with Kaneko being pulled onto Rias's back, forcing her chest to pop out and become defined through her shirt. Naruto stayed quiet. I think you can take a bit more, Naruto said chillingly as he forced Issei's upper torso to the ground. A loud scream and popping noise echoed throughout the gym. After one spine surgery, Issei and Asia handed everyone a headband. These are something Asia and I made, Issei said as he handed one to Rias. I suck at sports, so I wanted to do something to help boost morale. They are very nice, Rias said as she tied hers onto her head. You're very thoughtful for a pervert, Kaneko said as she put hers on. Question. Asia turned to Naruto. Why is mine like this? Naruto asked as he held up a black cloth. Everyone else's was white with red writing on it, with orange writing on it. I wanted to do something special for you, Naruto and I. Asia said as a small blush appeared on her face. She felt a hand on her head and pet her. I love it. Thanks, Asia-chan. Naruto said as he removed his hand and tied it to his forehead. Let's kick some Citri butt. Rias cheered, getting everyone but Naruto to cheer alongside her, then tried to back up that claimed Gremory. Everyone turned to see Sona's peerage, in their uniforms, wearing confident smirks. Since there are 8 of us and 7 of you, so Momo will be in charge of calling shots. Sona said. Of course they will be fair. Rias nodded as Momo stepped off to the side in the center so she could see all the players. Momo raised her hand. Ready, and start! She shouted, moving her hand down. One of Sona's members gripped the ball tightly and threw it at Kaneko, who ducked backyards, her shirt getting shredded, but did not get hit. Shit. She thought. That is more money lost to replace another uniform. Kaneko stood straight up and growled. She caught Naruto's sweatshirt, leaving himself shirtless with his leather string necklace holding his special key. Not that he cared. Many of the girls in Sona's peerage, including Momo, gazed upon the blonde rook's tattooed, the seal, and muscled figure with awe. They are going to die. Kaneko thought as she grabbed the ball and hurled it as hard as she could at the rook who threw it at her, nailing her in the kneecap, almost shattering it. That is a hit. Momo announced as she kept looking at Naruto as he dodged the balls thrown at him. Why are they targeting me specifically? Naruto thought as he continued his evasive maneuvers. Ah well, this is good training. After a couple of minutes, Issei and Asia witnessed everyone except Naruto and Kaneko, who got pegged and was out, use their magic to enhance their throws, effectively destroying parts of the gym. Sona's peerage was reduced to her, Tsubaki and Saji, while Rias had herself, Akino, Naruto, and Issei left. I never thought a game of dodgeball would be like this. Asia sacredly proclaimed to Kaneko and Kiba as she clung to the smaller female. It normally isn't, but this is a fight to get your and the pervert's familiar, so it was going to end like this one way or another. Kaneko replied as she smacked an incoming ball away from her and Asia with ease. Kiba chuckled as it looked like an older sister being comforted by her younger sibling. Want me to take out that rook and pawn? Saji asked Sona as he wiped some sweat off of his forehead. No, I got it. Sona proclaimed as she channeled her magic into the ball. Here comes the pain. Sona flourished and threw the ball at an incredible speed, making it head towards Issei. The pervert broke out into a fast pace as the ball continued to follow him. It speed up as he slowed down, closing in on him. Get down! Naruto shouted as he sailed through the air, kicking Issei down. Time for Naruto seemed to slow as his foot made contact with Issei's shoulder. His eyes caught sight of the ball, how fast it was going, and figured out where it would hit him. OHSHIT. He thought as time sped up to normal and his was hit in the face, the ball carrying him backyards 10 feet before the magic drained from it, and he landed on the ground, pieces of his mask surrounding his body as he was in shock of what just happened. Naruto/NI. Kaneko and Asia shouted as the game was put on pause. Sona ran up to the downed blonde as his eyes darted to and fro as his brain was starting to remember where he was and what happened. Are you alright? Sona asked as she knelt down next to him as his eyes focused and he shakily sat up. I'm fine. Naruto sputtered as he rubbed his face before stopping cold, his eyes wide in fear as his eyes dilated. Naruto? Rias asked as she saw the look on his face. Naruto jumped back, his hands covering his face, the fear never leaving his face as he ran out of the gym, running to the locker room. What just happened? Sona asked as she looked at the remnants of his mask. Why was he so shocked at his mask being broken? Naruto-kun is a ghoul. Kaneko informed the student president and her peerage, who heard the white-haired first year. Sona gasped in shock as she put the pieces of the puzzle together. So that is why he wears this, she said, pointing to the mask pieces. Upon closer inspection, the mask seemed to have a respirator function. He's afraid of his instincts to kill and eat people. That's right, Issei said. He told me that he is afraid that he'll attack his friends, so that is why he had such an extreme reaction. Sona nodded. I, Sona Citri, forfeit this match, Sona declared. Her peerage moaned and asked why she decided to give up. This is my way to apologize to Naruto, and to repay him for breaking his mask, Sona said before she looked at Rias. Please tell him I'll pay for the damages, and we will clean up the mess. I'll do it, Kaneko said as she quickly made her way out of the gym to find Naruto. Rias made a magic circle and called her brother. As this was happening, running faster than he ever thought he could, as a rook he wasn't really a speed type, Naruto barreled into the locker room and ripped the locker door off its hinges and grabbed his phone and opened its speed dial. Come on, pick up, Naruto chanted, his fear increasing every second. Click, hello? A soft yet powerful voice sounded through the cellular device. Ka-chan, my mask broke, Naruto shouted into his phone. A big magic circle of the Lucifuge clan appeared beneath him as he was teleported away to the underworld. He closed his phone as he felt a gentle hand grasp his face, and he leaned into its touch. His breathing evened out as he calmed down. How did it break? Grafia asked as he made sure he was calm. I took a magic-enhanced dodge ball to the face trying to save a friend. Naruto answered as he took a deep breath. I immediately called you so I would not do anything bad. Grafia nodded and was about to respond when Surzex burst through the door. Grafia, Riastan called and said Naruto-kun's mask broke. We need to he's here. Surzex said as he took notice of his surrogate son's presence. Call Beelzebub-sama and ask him to come here with the backup mask Lucifer-sama. Grafia said calmly to keep Naruto's anxiety from spiking. Alright Grafia, I'll call him here. Surzex said as he left the two alone to make his call. Grafia looked at the tense teen and gently moved him to a chair and sat down with him sitting on her lap. She gently lulled him to calmness, and he went to sleep. Flashback. Grafia was 6 months pregnant when her husband and parent-in-laws found him in the Gremory cemetery. When the Mao and heads of family told him to stop, he attacked Venelana, biting her arm. Venelana flung him through the air, into the wall that separated Surzex's and Grafia's room from the outside world, leaving the pregnant woman and the feral 6-year-old alone. Grafia was not able to move correctly or fast due to not wanting to hurt herself, or the baby. She saw a small child, whose mouth was full of flesh, devour it. She feared for not just her life, but her baby's life as well. Grafia watched in fear as the boy chewed and swallowed what was in his mouth. He had took several breaths and looked around, his glazed eyes landing on her. He reached out with both hands towards her. Grafia closed her eyes and held her belly, waiting for him to attack her. But nothing happened. Grafia felt something grasp her night dress and water dampen the cloth. Please, she heard. Grafia opened her eyes to see the child crying and hiccuping as he clutched her tightly. Please kill me? He pleaded. It hurts so much, please just end it. I don't want to hurt anyone. Grafia felt her heart clench in sadness as she watched and listened to this child beg for her to kill him. It was sickening that something had driven this child to ask such a thing. Grafia started before Surzex burst through the door, ran towards the boy and pinned him to the wall by his throat. Are you okay, Grafia? Surzex asked as he looked at the boy. We are all right. Grafia answered. But Surzex, are you going to kill me? The boy choked out, cutting her off. Surzex blinked in shock. Please do it. The boy said as he hung limply. Death would be better than a life of murder. The boy's tears were waterfalls as he hung there. Surzex dropped the boy. Realizing what happened, the child cried out. Why won't you do it? He shouted, his cry coming out a garble of voice and noise. He collapsed, clearly exhausted, and continued to mumble in his sleep as he shook. Grafia sighed as she tried to shake the memory from her head, but could not. After Zeoticus and Venelana appeared, the former with some quick bandages on her arm, entered the room. They saw Surzex carrying the blonde intruder. He walked past them and asked them to get a juka and the doctors. Said people appeared and helped the poor child heal. They were amazed at how fast he was healing on his own, but it was still slow. After taking some of his blood to research what the boy was, Ajuka fashioned the mask and called and helped to create the seal for the boy. When asked why, he answered that it was to keep the ghoul from losing control. The Gremory and Lucifuge were shocked at what they heard. Ajuka furthered their shock by saying that he was a vampire turned ghoul, since normal ghouls were angered spirits possessing dead bodies. Weeks went by and when the boy woke up, Grafia was almost 8 months pregnant, and was present when he woke up. Grafia brushed his hair to the side and smiled as another memory went through her head. The day Milikas was born, Naruto sat in the farthest corner of the room as Zeoticus and Venelana were praising their son and daughter-in-law and gushing over their grandson. Ria sat on the bed, holding her nephew as the babe laughed at a face she made. As baby Milikas was being handed back to his mother, he saw Naruto and held his arms out to the blonde with a garbled call and a smile on his tiny face. Naruto-kun, he wants you to hold him. Grafia said as she called to the boy. I can't. Naruto responded. I can't touch anyone so innocent. I can't, please Naruto-kun. Grafia asked once more. Naruto slowly made his way to the strongest queen and sat in a chair near her and Surzex. He held his arms in wait as Surzex took his son from his wife and gently handed him to the blonde. Be careful of his head. Grafia reminded the ghoul as he tilted the baby closer to his face. Milikas garbled happily as he clapped his tiny hands on Naruto's mask. He made a face that seemed to be irritated as he continued to tap the metal mouth cover. Scared at what the babe wanted, Naruto pushed the button on the mask to uncover his mouth, letting the baby's stubby hands touch him. Milikas's face became overjoyed as he felt Naruto's skin. I think he likes you, Naruto-kun. Grafia mentioned as she watched the two interact. If that is the case. Naruto started as tears filled his eyes. Can I be his brother? Grafia and Surzex looked at each other and back to Naruto, smiles on their faces. Of course, but that makes us your parents if you are his brother. Surzex answered. Everyone, but Rias, who had left after she gave Milikas back to Grafia to watch anime, felt their hearts ache as the blonde cried with a smile on his face, his new baby brother smiling and grabbing his older brother's lip. And flashback. Grafia eventually returned to her duties as Surzex's maid and Naruto helped her raise Milikas, trying hard to not cause her unnecessary trouble. Milikas would not stop unless either Grafia or Naruto rocked him back to sleep or make him laugh. Grafia felt Ajuka's presence in their home and slowly stood up, placing Naruto in the chair. The two Mao entered the room. Ajuka saw the two, getting a bow from Grafia, and bowed back before summoning a new mask that was the same design as the previous one. He was right to contact you when he did. Ajuka said as he placed the mask on the out-cold blonde. I just finished a new design for him so it worked out. Will this one break easily like the last one? Grafia asked out of concern for her son. He was irrationally afraid of what he could do that he was unwilling to be near anyone who wasn't stronger than him without it on. The mask not only stopped him from biting people, but when he felt any type of hunger for flesh, it would release an inhalant that simulated human flesh and curbed his hunger. Normal food helped, along with the seal keeping the most of it away, but they were only temporary stops for his instincts. The unbreakable spell wore off after 10 years of use, so of course it broke. Ajuka stated, as if it was obvious. He really should not be worried. We had the first put on him just in case the seal did not completely seal his ghoulish behaviors away. He doesn't need it, but he believes he does, Surzek said in defense of his child. And he is just as stubborn as you, Ajuka said as he ran a hand through his hair. Contact me if anything happens, be it devil work or him. Ajuka teleported back to his lab and left the two parents and their son alone. Skip next day. Naruto had the air knocked out of him as Kaneko hurled herself at him and hugged him tightly as she rubbed her head into his chest. You idiot! Kaneko choked out. Do you have any idea how worried I was? I'm sorry, Kaneko-chan. Naruto replied as rubbed her back in comfort. I should be the one apologizing for running off like that. At least you got your replacement mask, Ria said as she checked the time. Alright, it is time for us to go to the pet forest. I still don't know what I want for a familiar, Asia said as the peerage gathered around Rias as she got ready to teleport them to the forest. It all depends on what you want, Asia-chan, Naruto said as Kurama appeared on his shoulder. I am more of a close-quarters fighter, so I wanted a familiar that can use magic and can track. Asia nodded as she caught Kurama, who licked her face, making her smile. This is my familiar, Ria said as a bat appeared from a circle and landed on her shoulder, rubbing itself against her cheek affectionately. And these little guys are mine, Akino said as 3 chibi oniumps appeared, each a different color. This is Shiro, Kaneko said as very small and adorable white kitten with a belt collar appeared in her hands and looked around with curiosity before she saw Kurama and leaped at the fox. Kurama caught the kitten with his tail and pulled her close to him as they snuggled, both animals purring in content. Asia awed at the adorable scene as she pictured having a cute familiar. Issei steeled himself to find a sexy familiar. And this is my familiar, Kiba said before being cut off by Issei. Don't care. Don't want to see your familiar, Issei stated when Kiba looked at him confused. But you let Naruto summon his. That's because Kurama saved my life more than once, so he gets a pass. Akino chuckled as Kiba looked sad, but shook it off pretty easily. Alright, everyone ready? Rias asked as she, Akino, and Kaneko had their familiars returned to their pocket dimension, but Kurama clung to Naruto, saying he wanted to go with them. Then let's go, Rias said cheerfully. A magic circle appeared under all of them, and soon they were in a dark and highly vegetated forest. How y'all doing? You the Gremry group scheduled for today? The group turned to see a young man, mid-20s, wearing what appeared to be an Ash costume from Pokemon, but the colors were off so it wasn't exactly the same. Yes, we are. It's great to see you again, Master Zatuji, Akino said with a bow. That's great, Zatuji shouted as he posed, his hand held up, index finger pointing up. I am the great familiar Master Zatuji, and I'm going to catch them all. Zatuji let out a hearty laugh but stopped when something bounced off his head. Everyone looked down to see a plastic master ball. They looked up to see Naruto looking away with his arms behind his head, whistling. Kaneko tried not to laugh, but it was difficult. Well, who of you are getting your familiars today? Zatuji asked, slightly embarrassed. Asia and me, Issei said as he grabbed Asia's hand and pointed to her and himself. Alright, what type of familiar do you want? The master of familiars asked as Naruto wandered off, looking for a second familiar, this time one with healing abilities. He wandered for a while before he saw a flash of cold blue streak across the skies and land in the trees. Back with the peerage. Af! The girls screamed as a thick green slime ate away their clothes. Yes, I found my perfect familiar, Issei shouted as he ogled the naked flesh of Rias, Akino, and Asia. Kaneko however stomped over to him, and angrily as he looked at her. This pervert will never learn, she thought as she pulled back and dug her fist into the pervert's organs. He splattered against the surrounding trees, rolled down, and reformed holding his guts. Akino and Rias evaporated the slime remnants with POD and lightning, making Issei scream in terror and agony. No, slimy! He cried as he grabbed the last chunk of the slime as it shivered and tried to scoop it into his pocket. But Akino obliterated the last bit in Issei's hands, making him a crying mess. What did I walk into? Naruto asked as he neared Kiba, who was slime-free. Issei found that slime and wanted it as his familiar, and then it attacked the girls. Kiba stated as he looked at Naruto. Did you find another familiar? Naruto smirked as he said nothing. I see, Kiba said as their gaze turned back to the group. Issei snuffled as he tried to dry his eyes of the tears. Slimy, he choked out. I'll never forget you. Naruto made his presence known by placing his jacket on Kaneko's shoulder. Don't be too mad at him, Naruto said as he summoned another jacket and gave it to Akino. Naruto then took Issei's jacket and gave it to Asia to wear. Kiba offered his jacket to Rias, who took it and wore it in embarrassment. Naruto chuckled at Rias's troubled face, earning an angry scowl as Issei continued to cry. Asia buttoning up the jacket she was given when something in the trees caught her eye. A small blue sprite dragon hovering in the high branches gnawing at some fruit. It happily eating its food with merriment as it finished what was in its hands before reaching for another. It opened its eyes to search for more when it made eye contact with Asia. It flapped its tiny wings, not breaking eye contact, and made his way over the former nun. Flew before her and stared strongly into her green eyes. Asia was on edge while she stared back. I think he like you, Asia, Naruto said softly to not scare the poor girl. He might want to be your familiar. But how do I do it? Asia asked. Hold out your hand and see if he lets you touch him, Zatuji informed. Do it slowly, you don't want to startle him. Asia slowly held out her hand. She hoped with all she had that this little dragon picked her. Her heart beat faster when the dragon placed his head against her hand, like a cat spreading its scent when marking its territory. All right, he has chosen you, Zatuji said as the sprite dragon fluttered closer to Asia's chest, and she wrapped him up in a hug. Hey, you little bastard, don't get too close to Asia, Issei said aggressively. The dragon spared a glance at Issei and spat lightning at the pervert, zapping him to near death. Dragons of this type are very protective and love women, Zatuji said as he looked at the charred pervert. An insulting one is just asking for punishment. Thanks, Issei said as black smoke shot from his mouth. But you should have told me sooner. Kaneko and Akino, who was rubbing her thighs together at the burnt form of Issei, questioned Naruto on his new familiar since they'd heard Kiba's earlier question. As before, Naruto kept his lips tightly shut about the subject and refused to answer even under torture from Akino. Zatuji instructed Asia on how to make a pact with the now-named Rase. She had named him Rase because of his ability to shoot lightning and her friendship, secret crush, on Issei. Rias cleared her throat to get everyone's attention. It's time for us to leave. Rias announced as she got a circle ready for them to leave. Skip, Issei sighed as he and Asia snuggled on his bed. It was late at night, and just earlier, Asia admitted she wanted a deeper relationship with him. So they decided that being this close was the next step, as Issei wanted to have a relationship with Asia also, but not one just about sex. Asia smiled in her sleep as she tightened her grip on Issei, enjoying his warmth. Issei was uneasy, despite he had breasts squishing against his arm. He had a dream that morning about Rias getting married to him, but it was interrupted when he met Drake, the dragon who resided in his sacred gear. Issei closed his eyes and was about to sleep when a bright light appeared above him, and Rias slammed on top of him. Issei, Rias borderline shouted, waking Asia with the erratic movement of the bed. Take my virginity, now. What? Issei asked dumbly as Rias shucked off her clothes, making Issei and Asia blush at her naked form. Rias leaned forward and started to undress Issei, ignoring the fact that Asia was there. Issei was so confused. He wanted to be with Rias, sexually and as a girlfriend, but not like this. She seemed so troubled and not herself. Just as Rias was about to remove his boxers, another teleporting circle appeared. As it vanished, Grafia stepped forward. Skip, next day after school, Rias's peerage stood before the king and Grafia, who Issei recognized from the night before. Greetings. Grafia greeted as she bowed lightly. It is nice to meet you all again. Grafia looked at Asia. You are Asia Argento, are you not? She asked. Grafia knew about Asia and her relationship with Naruto, just not what she looked like. Asia nodded, in awe as Grafia was beautiful. I am Grafia Lucifuge, Naruto's mother. Since he calls you his sister, you may also call me mother. Asia, shocked, looked at Naruto. Surrogate mother, Naruto corrected. However, she is the aunt that I live with here in the human world, but she did help raise me. Asia nodded and looked at Grafia. It's nice to meet you, Grafia Kasama, Asia said respectfully. Grafia smiled, but it vanished since she had to be serious now. Should I tell them, Rias-sama, or do you want to tell them? Grafia asked as she looked at her sister-in-law. No, I'll tell them, Rias said as she stood up from the couch. As she stood up, a massive flame burst forth from her chair at her desk, heating up the room. It soon calmed down and revealed a man. He had dirty blonde hair and sapphire blue eyes, a shade darker than Naruto's, and wore a red suit with the collar open. It's been too long since I was last in the human world, he said as he stretched and his eyes found and glued themselves to Rias. Hello, my beloved Rias. Greeting, Phoenix-sama, Grafia said alongside and most of Rias's peerage, excluding the king, the bishop, and pawn. Grafia-sama, it is a pleasure to see you again, Riser said in his smooth voice as he bowed to the strongest queen. He may be a pleba, but he knew to not mess with Grafia. What are you doing here, Riser? Rias asked angrily as she glared at the man with anger and loathing. Akino quietly stepped to a counter and prepared some tea. I am here to inform you that the heads of the Phoenix and Gremory families have decided to move the date of our wedding to be sooner than originally intended, he told her honestly. Riser took some joy in the shock and disbelief on Rias's face. But I was promised to have until I graduated from university. Rias screamed. Well, they want to preserve our race, my dear, Riser answered, accepting the tea Akino offered and took a sip. Your queen makes delicious tea, Rias. Wait, what is going on? Issei asked as he was confused at what he was hearing. Rias and this guy were to get married. Not on his watch. This is Riser Phoenix, heir to the House of Phoenix. Grafia informed him and Asia. He is a pure-blooded devil like Rias-sama, and they are to be wed to have more pure-blooded devils of the Gremory and Phoenix houses. But she can't. Issei tried to argue, but stopped as Riser laughed. I can, huh? Riser asked as he finished his tea. I can and I will. Over my dead body. Issei shouted as he activated his sacred gear. Riser just smirked as a massive magic circle appeared under him, and he summoned his peerage. Issei was angered even more when he saw that his peerage were all females. Females of all different shapes and sizes. You bastard! Issei shouted as he charged towards Riser. A small female with a short bow staff appeared and used it to strike Issei in the stomach, sending him towards the wall. He, however, was caught by Naruto. Issei coughed uncontrollably as Naruto patted his back to help him. You need to train your peerage more, Rias. Riser said as he looked at the redhead. It doesn't work to have an insubordinate piece like that rook of yours. What do you mean? Rias asked. Grafia's eyes sharpened slightly. I saw how he was going against your wishes, saving that boy from that fallen angel. I know what he is, and with such a dangerous being, I would have him killed if he was in my peerage. Riser said nonchalantly before he and everyone else felt the heat go down and the room get colder. Grafia had her magic aura surrounding her as she glared at the young phoenix. Be careful of how you speak about others' peerage members, Riser-sama, she said coldly. You just don't know who they are connected to. Grafia-sama calmed down. Naruto spoke, getting her attention. You are scaring Asia and Issei. You're also scaring Revel-sama, said Phoenix squeaked as she hid behind one of Riser's rooks. Grafia reeled in her aura and the room warmed back up. You should just accept this, Rias. Riser said as he looked back at his fiancée. No! I'll never marry you, Riser! Rias yelled. Grafia flared her aura once more, only for an instant. It drew in their attention. There will be no fighting, she said sternly. Since Rias has made it clear she does not want to marry you, there is only one option available to you, raiding game. The people who knew what the raiding games were gasped while Asia and Issei, who was handed to Asia after he stopped coughing, looked at Grafia in confusion. Riser smiled and chuckled. I agree to this. It will be a good way for me to make you submit to me before we are married, he said with his smile not fading, and it will be an honor for us when we give you your first true loss, Riser. Rias declared, basically agreeing to the raiding game. You know what, I'll be generous and give you 10 days to train your peerage. Riser said happily, as if it was the best thing he could do. That way you won't be completely obliterated when we fight. I'll take that offer, Rias said eagerly. I can help Issei become stronger, strong enough to beat this asshole. So it is agreed? Grafia asked. In 10 days, Rias Gremory will face Riser Phoenix in a raiding game to determine if she gets married. Both kings nodded. Riser was about to leave when Revel tapped his shoulder and whispered into his ear. All right, but be home in an hour, he said, worried as his sister wanted to stay for a while. Revel nodded and moved away as Riser and the rest of his peerage teleported home, leaving Revel alone. Phoenix-sama, is there a reason you stayed behind? Akino asked as she looked at the youngest child of the heads of the Phoenix clan. I wanted to talk to your rook alone, Revel said as she looked at Naruto. She blushed as he made eye contact, which was seen by Kaneko. She glared at the girl. Kaneko never liked Revel, especially when they met. It was at a party a year after Kaneko joined Rias's peerage. Naruto and Milikas were talking and having fun as usual, as Milikas did not like being at such a boring party as it was mostly for adults. Kaneko was with them, silently watching her beloved play with the young Gremory. Naruto was in the middle of a joke when he bumped into Revel, who was 10 at the time. Naruto apologized immediately, but Revel had started screaming at him, calling him a filthy peasant and a freak, with his mask being the reason why. Naruto had teared up and ran out of the room, followed by Kaneko and Milikas. Revel, however, was scolded by her mother. When asked why, Layla Phoenix answered that she had insulted the oldest son of the Crimson Moa. All the heads of houses knew that Naruto was the surrogate son of Surzex, but they weren't supposed to tell anyone at the young boy's request. Layla realized what she did and cursed herself. Revel was shocked and scared at the news. She had insulted the son of Surzex. Layla had told her to accept any punishment that he wants, even if it was embarrassing, and to swear to not tell anyone of Naruto's status. Back in the present, Kaneko grabbed Naruto's arm as everyone else but her, Grafia, and Naruto left. Revel steeled herself and looked at Naruto. Naruto-sama, Revel called out to him. I'm sorry for how I acted at the part 4 years ago. Naruto blinked. Oh, that? He said. I am okay with that, Phoenix-sama. I insist that you punish me for my rude behavior. Revel pressed as she bowed low, showing Naruto the back of her neck since her hair was held in twin drill pigtails. Naruto's breath hitched. Her skin looked so soft and tender that he wanted to touch it with his own skin. Preferably his lips so he could lick it to get a taste for it. His mouth watered at it as he wanted to eat it. A very silent sound echoed in his mask as the inhalant funneled through it, and was inhaled by Naruto, calming his urge to eat her. It's all right, Phoenix-sama, he said somewhat nervously as he looked away from her. I forgave you a long time ago, so there is no reason for you to bow to me. Please, I beg you, Revel said desperately as she looked at him. She had dealt with the guilt of what she had done for 4 years. She needed to do something, anything, to make it up to him. The look in her eyes did not help as he sighed and made up his mind. He gently removed Kaneko from his arm and walked up to the young phoenix. He reached up to her face. Ravel closed her eyes and waited for pain, but felt a gentle hand place itself on her head. She opened her eyes to see his gentle gaze bore into her own as he petted her, rubbing his hand through her golden hair. Then Naruto said, "I want you to become my bishop when I get my own peerage, Ravel-chan." Ravel felt her heart flutter when he said her name instead of her family name. Grafia quirked an eyebrow, but inwardly smiled as she knew he was going easy on her. Kaneko was fuming. She was a cat and Ravel was a bird. There was no way she was going to share her man with Ravel, even if she was being forced to. Ravel smiled, a huge weight off her shoulders, and she enjoyed her petting from Naruto as he was very good at it. "I will," she said smiling. "I, Ravel Phoenix, promise to become your bishop when you become a high-class devil." Naruto nodded, very happy that he had another peerage member side up and waiting for him to become a high-class devil. Naruto was taken from his thought when he felt Ravel prodding his mask. "What are you doing?" he asked, her fingers finding what they wanted. The button to open his mask. "I am sealing the deal," Ravel said, red in the face with some steam puffing from her ears as his face was revealed. Naruto was confused and then shocked as the phoenix pulled him down and locked their lips together. Chapter 4, done. Chapter 5, Rating Game. Naruto gasped, letting Ravel force her tongue in his mouth, massaging their tongues together as they kissed in front of Kaneko and Grafia. Naruto's eyes relaxed and closed as his hands slowly moved themselves to and around Ravel's hips to pull her closer. Kaneko was horrified as she watched. Ravel was in heaven as she gripped Naruto's head, keeping their lips together until Kaneko grabbed Naruto and pulled him away from Ravel. "What are you doing?" Ravel asked as she snapped out of her dazed state. She did not like that her kiss was interrupted. Kaneko ignored her to smack Naruto outside the head. "Why did you just stand there and let her do that?" Kaneko asked heatedly. Naruto gulped as his mask closed. He had a feeling that no matter what he said he would get hurt by his fellow rook. "She surprised me," he said quietly. "He got a punch to the gut. Surprised my ass." Kaneko nearly yelled. "You seemed to enjoy it by the way your hands were holding her." Naruto blushed as he looked away and rubbed his stomach. He had enjoyed the kiss a lot. He was punched through the wall by Kaneko. "Is that all you needed to talk about, Phoenix-sama?" Grafia asked. She may have been proud that her son had another peerage member in waiting, but that kiss was something very serious, almost. Ravel answered as she pulled out a small box with the Phoenix clan crest on it and handed it to Grafia. "Please give this to Naruto-sama when you see him again. It is very important." "I will," Grafia said as she accepted the box. Ravel smiled as she teleported home. Little girl is smarter than she looks, Grafia thought as she opened the box to see a small vial of Phoenix tears. More or less her tears. Grafia sighed and closed the box. An idea struck her brain. Grafia smiled somewhat darkly as she returned back to the underworld to the Gremry library. Kaneko and Naruto's apartment. Naruto silently entered his home as his roommate rudely elbowed him as she passed him to go to her room. Naruto sighed sadly as he went to the kitchen to do his homework. After an hour, Naruto started making dinner, which was simple tortellinis and garlic bread. To make something nice, Naruto went out of his way to make some sweets for Kaneko. He set the table and waited for her to come down as she would usually smell the food and make her way down. However, she did not. Naruto was worried because Kaneko had told him time and time again she loved his cooking. Gathering their food on a tray, Naruto took it up to her room and knocked on her door. The noise of movement was heard and soon the door opened up slightly so Naruto could see Kaneko, her eyes red from crying. "What?" she asked blandly as she opened the door more. "I brought you dinner," Naruto said as he held out the tray. Kaneko looked at the noodles and bread and the side of sweets. "Thanks," she said as she took the tray from him and slammed the door shut. "Well tried to." Naruto winced as the door slammed into his foot as he tried to stop the door from closing. "Move your foot, Naruto," Kaneko demanded, not wanting to see him. "Kaneko-chan, may I ask what has you so upset?" he asked as he pushed into her room. Kaneko wanted to stop him, but with one hand holding the tray and the other trying to close the door, she could not stop him from entering her room. Her room was similar to Naruto's, only it had some stuffed animals and a female touch. She had some posters of Miracle Leviathan, Sona's sister's TV show, in multiple poses. She had some figurines and anime merchandise, but was few in number. In the corner was a basket with Kurama's and Shiro's names on them with said animals laying down looking at their masters. A big bag was at the foot of her closet, as she was packing for the 10 days of training. Kaneko's breath hitched as she closed the door and sat on her desk and Naruto sat on her bed. She had been crying the moment she entered her room as she was sad and angry. Sad that she just let Ravel kiss Naruto, and angry that he did nothing to stop her. "I am not angry," Kaneko said as she picked up the fork and stabbed a tortellini with it before eating it. "Yes you are," Naruto stated as he started eating his food. Kaneko ignored him and continued to eat her food, devouring it and her dessert before she tried to leave her room to put the dishes in the sink, but was stopped by Naruto grabbing her wrist. "Please, Kaneko-chan," he said worriedly. "I don't understand what I did to anger you and I can see that it is really bothering you." So please tell me what I did. Kaneko grit her teeth as she tried to get out of his grip, but he was unfazed by her attempts. Let go! She shouted, making him let her go, and she fell to the ground, her tray falling and the dishes to the floor. Naruto gasped and tried to help her up but was repelled by her tearful gaze. Kaneko sat up, her back against the door, her knees under her chin with her arms around them. Why did you let her kiss you? Kaneko shouted as her tears fell down her face and she tried to wipe them away but there was too many. I am so jealous of what happened, but then I am angry that she did that. But why is it upsetting you so much? Naruto asked as he knelt beside her and placed a hand on her shoulder. Because I love you. Kaneko shouted, not caring about keeping it secret anymore. I love you so much that it hurts to see you kiss another girl. Naruto's eyes widened as she looked at him. Tears flowed faster as she cried. Asia wasn't going for you, so I could accept her as a friend. Kaneko choked as grabbed his shirt. Rias doesn't see you as a romantic interest and Akino has her eyes on you, so I already had enough competition. Naruto wrapped his arms around the small girl and pulled her into his lap. Akino has her big, Kaneko continued. How can I compete with that? And Ravel is bigger than me in height and breast size. Kaneko took deep breaths as she paused, placing her head against Naruto's right shoulder, drenching his shirt with her tears. Naruto listened to her tearful confessions. She loves me, he thought. Naruto thought about their relationship and many of the green flags were set off at many of the things that had happened between them. She cried for him and laughed with him. She was always there for him. And now he had Ravel in his life and the revelation that Akino had possible feelings for him made him realize that Kaneko was putting pressure on herself to stand out when she did not need to. So doing what he was good at, Naruto placed his hand against her scalp and ran his fingers through her white locks and ran his hand down her spine to her tailbone. Finding her cat ears, Naruto broke the illusion and her cat features appeared. He gently rubbed her ears and gently grabbed the base of Kaneko's tail, making her gasp. She felt a heat in her loins start to build as he massaged the base of her tail and ears. Kaneko-chan, he said as she turned her head to look at him. I can say that I care a great deal about you. Kaneko's heart dropped a bit, but her breath hitched again as she felt her legs melt at him rubbing her ears and tail. I don't know if what I feel is love, Naruto continued, let her go of her tail and ears and gently pushed her away from him to look into her eyes. And I am worried that I might hurt you more if this is love. Then let's see if it is. Kaneko stated as she opened his mask and kissed him. Both Ghoul and Nekisha felt electricity shoot through their systems, and they never wanted to separate. Naruto quickly pulled her closer as Kaneko wrapped her arms around his head. Their mouths opened and their tongues danced against each other. Their heavy-lidded and unfocused eyes closed as they continued to make out. Naruto's hands went south and gripped Kaneko's butt cheeks, palming them causing Kaneko to moan into their kiss, and he pulled her closer to him by her ass. Kaneko also played dirty by rubbing herself against his crotch through his clothes, which did not need it since it was already erect, but it was the thought that counts. After several minutes of tongue wrestling, the two separated, a thick string of saliva connecting the two teens before it thinned and broke. Well? Kaneko asked out of breath. Are we a couple? Naruto smiled with his mask still open. Kaneko felt herself get pulled into a hug, her face against his neck. Of course, my sweet kitten, he said happily. Kaneko smiled and nuzzled into his neck. She stuck her tongue out and licked his neck a few times, making him laugh as her tongue was cat-like. He did not know that she had marked him as her property, so any yokai could know he was hers. If they had any problems with that, then they were free to fight her for him. I love you, Naruto-kun, Kaneko said as she pulled back to look into his eyes. Naruto, his mask covering his face again, looked right in her eyes. I love you too, Kaneko-chan, he replied. Next day, mountainside. Oh Mao, this is hard. Issei groaned as he walked up a steep hill with his and Asia's bags on his back. You can do it, Issei, Asia shouted from up ahead. Stop being a wimp pervert, Kaneko called out happily as she relaxed. She was sitting on Naruto's shoulders, her heavy bag lying atop Naruto's even heavier bag, which was on his back as he carried it, and Kaneko. That's not fair, Issei thought as he remembered that Naruto and Kaneko were rooks, so they were stronger than most boxers. But he was mostly jealous that Naruto had Kaneko's powerful thighs against his head. Akino chuckled as she, Kiba, Rias, and Asia were at the level ground dozens of feet away from the rooks and unlucky pawn. Naruto smiled under his mask as he turned the page in his book. Surprisingly, it wasn't a medical book. After breakfast, Kaneko and Naruto were visited by Grafia, who handed Naruto the box that Ravel wanted him to have. Not really in the mood to open it, Naruto placed it in his room on his desk and proceeded to get ready to leave, but Grafia stopped him and handed him an old book on the Phoenix clan. She smiled and said it might be of some help for him to come up with a plan. Issei clawed his way to the group, exhausted and gasping for air. Don't worry, Issei, Kiba said. We are almost there, just one more ridge and then we are at the house. Thanks, pretty boy. Issei gasped as he drank some of the water Asia gave him. Naruto and Kaneko chuckled at the interaction. They had not told anyone of them being a couple now, waiting for a better moment, preferably after the raiding game when things calmed down. After another hour of walking, the Gremry group made it to the summer house that Rias had made for whenever she wanted to spend summers or holidays in the human world. Issei was dragged into the house where he snapped out of his exhausted days to see that Kiba and Naruto were changing into their pea clothes to get started on training. Issei deflated when he was told that they were starting training immediately. The Red Dragon Emperor was soon standing before Kiba, both holding a bakken. Issei carelessly swung his sword and was quickly defeated by Kiba, who informed him to not focus solely on an enemy's weapon but their whole body. Then, in the afternoon, Akino gave Asia and Issei instruction on magic. Asia excelled at it where Issei had very little, so nothing significant happened. For the rest of the day, Kaneko was teaching him hand-to-hand combat, which she took too much enjoyment hitting the pervert for all the times he did anything perverted. However, she informed him that despite being a pervert he was a hard worker, which cheered him up and kept him going despite he kept losing. Through all of this, Naruto had read the book Graphia gave him, studying up on the Phoenix's unique immortality ability, hoping for a solution to stop it. That evening, Naruto, Issei, and Asia were in the kitchen preparing dinner under the condition that they only used magic to peel the food and boil the water. Naruto was already good at using magic, so he was mainly here to observe while the others did their own training. Asia smiled and hummed happily as she held her hand over a pot of water that was boiling due to her channeling magic into it. Issei thought back to earlier with Akino and her magic training while he held an onion in his hand. Akino, Issei thought with a perverted look on his face. There are some ripe ones begging to bust free. Fwish. The skin covering the onion blew off the onion, causing Asia to gasp and Naruto to quirk an eyebrow. Wait a sec, Issei thought as he grabbed a potato and thought of Akino's. Fwish. The potato was peeled. Alright. Issei shouted as he went crazy peeling vegetables left and right before he was smacked in the head. Issei glared angrily at Naruto, who looked down. Issei followed his gaze and saw why he was hit. Potato and onion peels were littered all over the floor and table. Naruto chewed his potatoes merrily as it felt good to not eat his own cooking. Asia-chan, you're going to make a good wife someday, Naruto proclaimed happily, causing his surrogate sister to blush heavily and clutch her face in embarrassment. Issei gazed at Rias and Akino, imagining them naked before his gaze landed on Kaneko as he tried to look at Asia. Don't try to peel me, Kaneko stated violently. I'd never, Issei shouted. I was only, maybe I should not finish this sentence. Issei thought this as he felt Naruto's magic spike quickly at the mention of I was only. Issei finished his sentence with a nervous laugh as everyone continued to eat the massive meal consisting of potatoes and onions. So Issei, Rias asked. Learn anything new? Issei looked down in shame. Yeah, that I'm the weakest link here, he said dejectedly. Well, at least you know you need to improve, Rias said as if it was normal, slightly hurting Issei's pride. Between your boosted gear and Asia's advanced healing, you two are quite a team. Our enemy will know this, so it's best we get you as strong as possible. Issei nodded. Well, then let's get going to the bath, Rias announced as they finished. We're bathing? Issei gasped. Rias chuckled at his antics. You want to see us naked, don't you? Rias asked. I don't mind. Do you, Akino? The more the merrier, Akino replied with a chuckle. Nope, Kaneko said blandly. Baths, we haven't done this in forever. Akino sighed as she, Rias, Asia, and Kaneko sat in the massive bathing area. The steam was thick, but one could easily see the outlines of the four girls if they looked hard enough. Kaneko was not listening to Rias as she remembered the actions she and Naruto participated in the night before as she sat next to Asia scrubbing her body with soap and a sponge. She felt herself get warm at the thought of going further than kissing and groping with Naruto. She was interrupted by Asia. Kaneko-chan, what did that girl want with Naruto and I yesterday? Asia asked. She had noticed that while she and everyone else left the room, Graphia and Kaneko had stayed put. Rias and Akino were also interested in what happened. Kaneko's happy mood became sour as her magic flared up. Oh, that bitch, she said as she glared at the mirror, Ravel's face appearing in it, making Kaneko want to punch it. What happened? Akino asked calmly. Whatever happened must have been bad for her to be like this. She asked Naruto-kun for forgiveness from when she embarrassed him at that party 4 years ago. Kaneko informed them. He asked her to become his bishop and then the bitch kissed him. Asia gasped in shock. Rias blinked a dozen times. Akino sat silently in the water. Ravel is going to be punished so badly if I see her in the game, Akino thought as she made plans. Next door, Issei was foaming at the mouth. You kissed that girl with the drill pigtails? He roared. Naruto sighed as he lowered himself into the water, ignoring the deprived pervert. Wish Gasper was here, Naruto thought as he closed his eyes. He is always really quiet and aware when people want to relax, unlike Issei. Several minutes passed when Naruto looked at his brown-haired friend. Issei, why are you training to become strong? Naruto asked. Issei frowned a bit. The same as you, Issei answered. I'm getting stronger to help free Bucho from this marriage. Sorry, but you are wrong, Naruto replied as he stretched his arms. I am getting stronger to protect my precious people, you included. Do you have anyone precious to you, Issei? Someone so precious that you would sacrifice yourself for them? Issei thought about it for a while. I have Asia and Bucho, Issei replied. There you go, Naruto said with an unseen smile. So you fight for them, and your dream to become harem king. Don't ever forget or lose sight of those, Issei. They will push you far and beyond your limits. Issei listened to his friend and accepted this. He looked up to the ceiling and smiled. Later that night, Naruto sighed in relief as he sat back as he closed his book before he sat up and stretched before looking at the clock. Crap, it's so late, he thought as he grabbed his book and made his way to his room. As he readied himself for sleep, an idea popped into his head and he grabbed his phone. Next morning, after breakfast, the Gremry team sat around a table with Rias explaining the reason behind the evil peace system and rating games. After that, Asia gave them a quick tutorial on holy water and Bible texts, making everyone have a headache from her reading them aloud. Asia apologized multiple times as she clutched her head in pain. Naruto smiled painfully as he gripped his own head. Once everyone was outside, Rias ordered Kiba to once again train Issei while everyone else continued their own training before they rotated to help Issei and Asia. Naruto, however, pulled out his phone and messaged someone which did not go unnoticed by Rias. She was about to ask him what he was doing when a lucifuge teleporting circle appeared before him and two people stepped out. Well, one did while the other jumped at Naruto, flinging the two of them across the field and rolled, with the attacker on top of our favorite ghoul. I missed you so much, Naruto-chan. An adult female voice echoed through the air as the ORC members saw their rook his face rubbed against a woman's face. She had long purple hair tied in a high ponytail and tan skin. She wore an orange shirt, a muffler, tight black pants, leg and arm warmers bound with bands, and normal shoes. She had a very curvaceous body that any man would lust after. However, the most distinct features she had were two purple cat ears on her head and two purple tails swaying above her butt. Kaniko's eyes widened as she felt fear grip her heart. This woman had a similar aura to Kuroka and it used senjutsu. Don't worry, my little friend. A masculine with a heavy Hispanic accent voice said as a hand clasped her shoulder. This is how Yoruichi greets him. Kaniko looked up to see the speaker. He was of average height for an adult, maybe a little taller, and had long pointed sideburns and goatee. He wore a loose cooking kimono top over his muscled form but wore black slacks and had a bakken at his hip. His most distinguished feature was his foot-long pompadour. Who are you and why are you here? Rias demanded, standing with her arms crossed and her eyes strong. Sorry for not introducing myself, the man said as he held out his hand. Name is Ryunosuke Mimiya, Ryu for short. I am Naruto-sama's future knight. One, future knight? Rias questioned, ignoring his extended hand, making Ryu put it at his side. Yep, Ryu answered with a polite smile. And that woman is Yoruichi Shihoin, his future queen. Issei cried blood. How could his best friend betray him and take away his dream of being harem king and have such a hot cat chick ogling him? He doesn't have a peerage, so why were you able to teleport here to him? Rias asked, not liking that her rook was attempting to gather a peerage illegally. We were turned into devils by my master's mother, Grafia-sama, and we are waiting patiently for him to become a high-class devil to take our places besides him, Ryu answered, holding out his hand to show her the lucifuge symbol. Rias gasped in shock before she was covered in her pod. Akino's eyes were wide and Kiba laughed nervously. Issei and Asia stepped back as Rias turned to her down rook and stomped over to him. Yoruichi looked up to see the angered heiress and smiled before the area was flooded with her ki. Rias and her peerage gasped and fell to their knees, taking labored breaths as it became difficult to breathe. The pressure vanished shortly after it arrived. If you have something to say to my future king, then don't approach him with murderous intent, especially since we are here to help you train, Yoruichi said calmly as she removed herself from Naruto and helped him up, her goofy behavior gone and replaced with a serious tone. Yoruichi held herself with such grace and walked up to Rias and looked down at her. I am Yoruichi Shihoin, former queen of the Nikomata and Nekashu, current leader of the Assassination Corps under the Mao, future queen of Naruto Uzumaki, Yoruichi announced as she smiled. It's nice to finally meet the Crimson Mao's little sister, too. Everyone except Issei and Asia had fear run through their veins as they looked at Yoruichi. He has the leader of the Assassination Corps in reserves for his peerage? They all thought, except Kaniko who slowly walked towards Yoruichi. Said woman looked at the white-haired girl and leaned close to her face, sniffing her. Are you the Kochan my Ototo told me about? Yoruichi asked as Kaniko nodded. Yoruichi smiled and wrapped the small girl in a hug and whispered in her ear. I'm sorry I could not save you in Kuroka all those years ago. If only Lucifer-sama let me, I would have taken you too from that man. Kaniko's eyes widened as Yoruichi removed herself from her and petted her head. Since you are close to my Ototo, I'll train you, Yoruichi declared proudly, snapping Rias out of her shock. Wait, you can't take her. She is training for a raiding game so I need her close by, Rias said. Oh, don't worry, Ojo-sama, Yoruichi replied. I'll train her and Naruto here. Ryu can help train your other members as he is well versed in swordplay and boxing. Yoruichi smiled joyfully as she grabbed Naruto and Kaniko by their waists. We will be at the base of the mountain if you need us, Yoruichi said as she flashed out of the area with such speed that made Kiba jealous. Ryu nodded as a green swirl appeared beside him and took the form of a very thin man with green skin, and he wore a hot spring kimono. Can't a ghost get any rest without all this talking? He asked as he yawned. Morning, Tokajiro, Ryu said as the green ghost took notice of his shaman partner, and bowed lightly. Holy thick thighs, it's a ghost, Issei and Asia shouted as they clung to each other. Tokajiro grimaced and glared at them. You got a problem with that? he growled out. You should be afraid of the great and terrifying Tokajiro. That's enough, Tokajiro, Ryu stated, getting his partner under control. We are here to help them, not scare them. Tokajiro huffed out a fine. Ryu-san, Akino spoke. Are you a shaman? Ryu gained a huge smile. Yes, I am, Ryu said as he threw his head back and his arms extended as he executed a kabuki pose. I am the great Bakuto no Ryu, shaman of nature and chef for Lucifer-sama. Look on and be amazed. Akino could not help but laugh at his actions. Well, then that explains the ghost. But what can you help us with? Rias questioned. She was annoyed that she wasn't able to train her peerage the way she wanted, but since two people who served her brother were offering help, who was she to decline, especially since her future was on the line? I suggest you all fight me so I can get an idea of where you all stand. Ryu answered. All of us? Issei asked. Won't that be unfair to you? You're the Red Dragon Emperor, correct? Ryu asked, getting a nod and saw Issei summon his sacred gear. Tokajiro floated over to Issei and touched his gauntlet, and closed his eyes. I see, the ghost said as he returned to Ryu's side. The perv hasn't made much contact with the dragon in his weapon and doesn't even have his balance breaker. We have our work cut out with him, Ryu. I see, Ryu answered before he put his hand on his chin and thought for a few minutes before nodding. Alright, I have something planned for you, but I still need to see where you all stand. Ryu drew his Bakken and Tokajiro grinned. The ORC members witnessed as Tokajiro warped into a small green orb with his face on it and was grabbed by Ryu. Tokajiro, into the wooden sword, Ryu said as he pushed the orb into his Bakken. Green magic energy enveloped Ryu's arm, up to his elbow, with a purple head guard on it. It had small tendrils billowing at the elbow area and the blade of the Bakken was not covered. Now let us begin our training, Ryu said as Tokajiro, and he chuckled evilly, putting the ORC members on edge as they prepared for battle. Mountain base. As rooks, you both lack one crucial thing, Yoruichi said as she and her students stood in a clearing. And that is speed. Naruto and Kaneko nodded. I, not to toot my own horn, was able to outrun lightning, Yoruichi said in a self-praising tone. I was called the queen of the flash step for that very reason. So you are going to teach us the flash step? Naruto asked. Nope, Yoruichi said playfully. It's a treasured Nikomata Senjutsu technique, so you would not be able to use it, but I will increase your speed. An explosion went off near the house. I can see that Ryu is testing them, Yoruichi said as she felt their auras flare up and down the last few minutes. So what will we do? Kaneko asked. She was somewhat anxious about training, but she was also upset at Naruto for not telling her he knew her queen. Sure, Yoruichi hadn't been the Nikomata queen for centuries, but she was a former queen, so Kaneko had immense respect for her instructor already. Yoruichi smirked devilishly as she pulled out a scroll and unfurled it. There were 2 seal matrices and Yoruichi ran her hands over them, causing 2 puffs of smoke to appear. In her arms were normal arm and leg weights. Your first step in this training is to strap these on and get used to them, Yoruichi said evilly as her students put them on before they were pulled into the earth when the magic on the weights activated, making them heavier. We will start the next step when you have adjusted to this. Start running, Naruto and Kaneko-chan. I want to talk to you. Kaneko nodded into the ground as she felt Naruto slowly get up and tried to run. Being weighed down, she could see him struggle. Kaneko felt the pressure on her legs lighten enough to let her stand. I want to know, have you and Naruto-chan done IT yet? Yoruichi asked as she watched Kaneko's face turn red. So is that a yes? Well, Kaneko stammered, trying to think of an answer. We haven't gone all the way, but we did get close a while ago. Yoruichi nodded. Okay, I just wanted to know and to tell you that you aren't the only one after him. Kaneko's heart dropped, and her blood froze. I like him just as much as you do, Kaneko-chan, Yoruichi said as she knelt to look the teen in the eyes. I am telling you this because I know he loves you and I don't want this to tear a rift between the two of you. Kaneko smirked, shocking the older Nekashu. Well, he is my boyfriend, so I don't care if you like him, Kaneko said as her Nekashu features made themselves known. So try to take him from me if you can. Oh, I love a good challenge, Yoruichi said as she and her now rival smiled at each other. But I will still see you as my student and my friend, especially when you join his peerage. Kaneko nodded and held out her fist. Yoruichi bumped her fist against Kaneko's, thus the friendship/rivalry between the Nekashu began. Skip, later that night, Rias was reading in the moonlight wearing a see-through nightgown and glasses. She sighed and closed her book and looked at the moon. Her body hurt from Ryu's fight and then the training he made them do. Ryu had Rias and Akino fight each other fist to fist, his reason being that since they were wizard-type fighters, if a CQC specialist got in close, their attacks would be dangerous to them as well as their opponent. Kiba was forced to lift heavy weights to build his muscle to put strength behind his strikes. Asia was forced to dodge multiple flying objects to help her not only get a better reaction time, but to keep herself safe. If she was taken out, then who would heal her teammates? Issei still continued his original training, but he also had to meditate to try to contact Drake and, unknown to him, tried to help him achieve balance breaker. Nice, isn't it? Rias held in a scream of shock and fright when she heard Yoruichi's voice beside her. Yoruichi-sama, is there something you need? Rias asked. She hadn't felt Yoruichi's magic, she was also distracted with her thoughts, and thus was shocked when the woman made herself known. Nothing much, just had a question for you. Yoruichi informed. Rias quirked an eyebrow. Go ahead and ask. Yoruichi took a breath and then looked the heiress in the eyes. Why did you want Issei to join your group? Yoruichi asked. I need him to break this marriage. Rias answered, as if it was the most obvious thing. I heard about how you wanted to recruit him. Yoruichi replied. And to let him die by the fallen angel's hands is not really what one thinks when wanting to have a powerful peace. There had to be another reason. There isn't any other reason. Rias said sternly. Was there another reason? I can tell by your aura and your actions towards my king that you don't like him all that much. Yoruichi said. You fear him. Why would I fear Naruto? Rias shot back. He may be disobedient, but he always listens when it counts, and that rebellious nature is what frightens you. You fear that he'll turn on you and kill you because of what he is, a ghoul. Yoruichi retorted. Is that why you wanted the Red Dragon Emperor? It is. You wanted someone strong enough to defend you and possibly kill Naruto if he lost himself to his desire to kill and eat. That isn't it at all. Rias snapped. She was getting angry at Yoruichi, but what the Nekishu said was partially true. Rias was afraid that Naruto would go crazy and attack them. However, she did not want him dead. She wanted to have Issei be strong enough to subdue Naruto. Your increased heartbeat and fluctuating aura tells me I'm at least half correct in my assumptions. Yoruichi said before she turned to go into the house. Issei, who was standing beside the door, heard everything. This can't be true. He thought as Yoruichi passed him and looked at him. I hope you make the correct choice regarding my master Issei-san. She said as she made her way to her room with Kaneko. They decided to share a room, to bond and get more acquainted with each other. Issei nodded and made his way to his room that he shared with Naruto and Kiba. Issei was conflicted. What do I do? He thought as he walked. If my reason to be a devil really is to kill Naruto, then why did I vow to protect Bucho? I like her, but Naruto has helped me so many times and doesn't seem to be that bad of a guy. I don't know, partner. Issei looked at his left hand to see a green circle glowing. Drake? Who else lives in your hand, partner? Oh, right. Issei thought as he continued to his room. Issei made it to his room and lay on his bed mulling over it. He wanted to become harem king with Rias and Asia by his side, but he did not want it with the blood of his friend on his hands. Hey Drake, I want to make a deal. Drake quirked an eye ridge. I'm listening. Skip, day 8 of training. Ryu and Yoruichi smiled happily as the 7 members of Rias's peerage in the field with Issei and Kiba facing each other. Kiba had a Bakken in his hand as Issei had his boosted gear out, letting his gear boost as many times as possible to see how far he has come since he started training. Keep going, Red Dragon. Ryu instructed. Alright, Issei said as he pushed another doubling effect. Drake, if you hear me, give me more power. A massive green light enveloped Issei's arm as his gear changed form once again. Dragon Booster, Second Liberation. Drake shouted as the light and power coursed through Issei's body. Not going to describe it, too detailed for me to describe so you can look it up. That makes 20 boosts. Rias said shocked. Now Red Dragon, put all that power in one point before you. Ryu said. Issei barely heard Ryu. Having all that power was intense, and one small lapse in his concentration may have turned bad. Issei held his gear towards Kiba and focused all of his magic in front of him, which took the form of a small red. Shit, it's too weak despite all that increase? Issei thought. Appearances can be deceiving, Issei-san. Yoruichi chimed. Now let it go. Dragon, Issei said as he pulled back his fist, causing Kiba to imbue his Bakken with his magic. Shot! Issei's fist punched the small orb, sending it towards Kiba. The orb soared at the blonde, destroying the ground around it, and plowed its way up the mountain range, over 2 miles wide and dozens of miles long worth of damage done. The mountain was destroyed. Oh shit! Issei thought as Kiba was gone. Don't worry, he's safe. Yoruichi announced as she placed Kiba on his feet, his Bakken gone. Thanks, Yoruichi-sama. Kiba said. If you hadn't done that, I'd be dead. That was amazing, Issei. Rias yelled as she hugged the boy. Usually Issei would have been on cloud 9, but ever since he heard what Rias and Yoruichi said, he had been more focused on getting stronger than. Thanks, Rias. Issei said as he quickly removed Rias from himself. Now I'm going to sleep. Issei then collapsed and was out like a lamp. Asia ran to her crush and started to check him over while Naruto smiled proudly. He has gotten so strong in such a short amount of time thanks to Ryu. Naruto thought as he looked down at the binder in his arms and wrote something down. What are you writing, Naruto? Akino asked as she looked over his shoulder, scaring him, making him close the binder. Akino, he shouted, getting everyone's attention. Don't scare me like that. Akino laughed, having really enjoyed his fright. You're cute when you're scared, Naruto. Akino said, gaining Yoruichi's and Kaneko's attention. Naruto had an unseen blush as he called Akino over and showed her what he had written down. Akino looked at the page and read them. Naruto had written down and drawn multiple ways to fight against Riser, and there was more, but the last part Naruto refused to let her. Look at them. Let me see it, Naruto. Akino whined. It's just something that is a little dangerous. Naruto said, ignoring as best he could the puppy dog look Akino sent towards him. A last resort, you could say. Well, whatever it is, it probably won't work. Rias said as she overheard their conversation. You should read some of these, Rias, they might work. Aquino inquired. She wanted to really try Plan 6, maybe Plan 9 more, but she might combine them and call it Plan 69. I don't need to, Rias said sternly. I have a plan and it will work, Rias, Naruto said. Can you at least give them a read? Maybe they can help you improve your plan and make it better. I said no, Rias said in a raised voice. She was getting irritated. She had a training plan planned out for her peerage, but Naruto had stepped in and had his friends help them. Sure, they helped. Kiba could take some hits before getting worn out. Kaneko and Naruto had gotten faster and more durable. Asia could react to things quickly, but she still had some trouble with extremely fast and small objects. Issei's magic and physical prowess had increased immensely. Rias herself and Aquino could also take a hit and do some damage in a fist fight. However, it is not what she really wanted to do. She felt like she lost control over the situation, and now with Naruto saying he had some ideas for the rating game, Rias was getting close to snapping. Rias, please? Naruto said as he stepped forward and held out the binder to her. I beg you to just read them. I said no, Naruto. I want you to win, Rias. Naruto retorted back, equally as loud as Rias. I did this so my friends and family could be their best. You have no family. Everyone, Kaneko, Ryu, and Yoruichi especially, heard the metaphorical pin drop when the area was filled with silence. Issei was conscious enough when he heard Rias shout. Rias took a deep breath before she realized what she said. Oh my Naruto, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it, Rias said shakily as she looked at him with immense regret, guilt, and fear. Naruto said and did nothing. Naruto-sama? Ryu asked as he took a step forward to his king. Is that really what you think, Rias? Naruto asked coldly, he looking up as his eyes held nothing but anger. Rias gasped as his eyes were no longer their normal cerulean blue but a chilling emerald and his pupils were slitted. Yoruichi was about to move but was stopped in her tracks when she felt Naruto's magic flare up. It surrounded him, it being a very dark shade of red on the outside, but transitioned into a more pinkish color on the inside. 3. Yoruichi and Ryu felt fear. It wasn't as strong as their auras, but what it promised and represented. The rage he felt and his guilt. They could feel the lust for blood and the intense hunger that the aura cried out for. The ORC members all collapsed and looked at Naruto in fear. Kaneko was on the verge of tears. She was mad at Rias for what she said, but she had been trained in aura sensing and could feel the raw turmoil inside of Naruto. Naruto and Kaneko tried to speak but she was silenced when the aura vanished. Kaneko could still feel that Naruto was still there but he was still emotional. Naruto inhaled the gas his mask produced to help reel him in, and he glared angrily down at the red-headed heiress and turned away from her, dropping his binder, some of the pages bending and getting dirty. Ryu, take me home, Naruto said slowly as he walked to his knight. Now, Ryu was still in shock and just nodded. He activated his teleportation spell and he and his king vanished. Everyone there were in a cold sweat, Rias especially. Rias was scared. She was afraid and because of this she felt that her fears were justified. But she felt immense guilt. She had told him that he had no family, something Naruto held in such high regard and it was so precious to him that to be told he had no family was shattering. Kaneko ran up and punched Rias hard across the face. What the hell is wrong with you? Kaneko shouted as she went for another, but was held back by Yoruichi. Kaneko? Rias questioned. Why did you say that? Kaneko shouted as she struggled against Yoruichi's grip. He did nothing wrong for that. All he wanted was to help you and all you did was kick him in the... Kaneko-chan, calm down, Yoruichi said calmly. You don't care about him. Kaneko continued in her struggle to get to Rias, who was now afraid and attentive to the 15-year-old. I bet you think he is a monster. You are scared that because he is a ghoul that he'll eat you. What do you think of me, Rias? Rias gasped when Kaneko's ears and tail appeared. Kiba and Aquino were shocked that she showed them because she told them she hated them. Issei and Asia thought Kaneko looked adorable but were also afraid of what she could do, since she seemed to be a Nikomata like Yoruichi. Kaneko stopped struggling. I am a Nekasha, Kaneko shouted with her eyes filled with tears that flowed down her cheeks. I am a creature driven by lust and murder. Do you fear me and think I'm a monster? Kaneko Rias said as she steeled herself and walked in front of the two Nekashu. I don't think you are a monster. Then why is Naruto a monster to you? Kaneko questioned. There is little to no difference between me and Naruto-kun. So what makes me so different to him in your eyes? Rias looked to the ground and thought about it. What is the difference? Rias thought. What made me fear him so much? Rias remembered back to when she first met him. She was 7 and he was 6. Rias was happy to have her first piece given to her by her brother, even more so when she heard his name was Naruto, a Japanese name. She had hugged him happily and had proceeded to show him around the house. He was nervous and shy about everything and did not like being alone. He clung to her somewhat and Rias thought he was cute. That night, however, Rias found out that he had bitten and taken a chunk out of her mother's arm. Rias realized that when she found out about this she had unconsciously started to treat him differently. Because you never did anything to make me think that you were, Rias said finally after several minutes. When I heard about when he bit my mother, I was afraid he'd do the same to me even though he wears that mask. And now he doesn't want to be near you. Kaneko spat back. Naruto wanted nothing from you except your acknowledgement. You constantly made him feel bad about wanting to be a doctor because he is a ghoul. He once tried to kill himself because of your fucking insensitivity. Yoruichi's grasp on Kaneko slacked when she heard this. He tried to do what? Kaneko, taking note of this, broke free from Yoruichi's hold and ran to Naruto's binder and grabbed it. She then ran into the house and locked herself in the bathroom. Rias looked at her other peerage members and got questioning looks from Kiba and Asia. She got angered look from Akino. Issei had no visible look on his face as he had been walking away to the house. I hope you can still fight the raiding game, Yoruichi said before she teleported to Naruto and Ryu's location. Rias stood there and cried. How could it get any worse? Riser's familiar, which was keeping an eye and ear on Rias's peerage, took flight and vanished to inform its master of its findings. Phoenix Mansion, nighttime. Ravel, wearing a frilly night dress, hummed happily as she readied herself for bed. I hope Naruto-sama uses my tears, she thought, a blush spreading across her face along with a smile. Ravel suddenly felt a familiar tingle in her loins as she remembered Naruto and that kiss they shared. Ravel rubbed her thighs together to try to ease the urge, but it only made it worse. I can do it, Ravel thought as she tried to fight against the urge. I can do it. Ravel wanted to wait for Naruto and her to meet again, in hopes for them to go even further than before. 2 days later, Ko-Academy. Grafia stood before Rias's group. She could feel some negativity between them, already knowing what happened from Naruto. Though she was mad, Grafia remained neutral. Naruto stood beside Issei, clad in his school uniform like the rest of the peerage, but he wore black leather gloves. His face was covered by the hood and had ignored everyone, including Kaneko, which made everyone worry. Is everyone ready? Grafia asked. A collected nod gave Grafia all the answers she needed before they were teleported to the Illusion Stadium. Fake Ko-Academy, 10 minutes before game starts. It looks so real, Issei said in awe, his sacred gear activated in preparation. Yeah, it's all an illusion, Kiba said as he sat down and tried to relax. Akino served tea to those sitting, taking notice that Naruto and Kaneko were missing. Said devils were in the back, angrily making out with each other. I'm so fucking mad at you, Naruto-kun, Kaneko whispered as she pulled his face back to hers. I'm sorry. Naruto apologized as he thrust his tongue in her mouth. They battled for a quick second before they pulled back. I'll pay you back in full when we get home. Kaneko nodded as they got their breath back, fixed her clothes and cleaned her face. The two made their presence known when Naruto sat down and Kaneko sat in his lap and let Naruto pet her, making her purr. She had missed his petting. Rias took this time to explain her game plan, which was to have them split up and take down groups of the opposing team's members while she and Asia faced Riser alone while the teams were fighting. The groups were as follows: Akino as a solo, Naruto as a solo, Kiba as a solo, Issei and Kaneko, and Asia and herself. Everyone but Naruto nodded when she finished explaining. They had not forgotten what she said to Naruto, having sided with him. However, since they had seen how sorry she was, they had forgiven her, but were still on edge about it. Rias looked at Naruto. Naruto, she called out. Said Blonde looked at her but did not move his head, only his eyes. What? He said blandly like Kaneko. I want to say I'm sorry for what I said. Rias apologized with a bow. I regret what I said and hope you can forgive me, and if not now, then maybe down the line in life. Rias had his eyes closed, hoping he accepted. Welcome everyone, I am Grafia Lucifuge and I will be your announcer for this event. Grafia announced through the speaker. The game will start in 30 seconds, participants be ready. I'll give you an answer later, Rias, Naruto said coldly. Kaneko got off his lap and pulled on her boxing gloves. Kiba placed the sword at his hip and mentally prepared himself. Akino changed into her Miko outfit and had a smile on her face as she could take some anger out on the enemy. Issei and Asia hugged each other and wished each other good luck. Rias handed out communication orbs for them to use to talk to each other during the match. Once she finished handing them out, everyone but Rias and Asia left the room and made their way to their positions. Naruto stood by himself. He had a lot on his mind, especially what he had talked to Surzex and Grafia about when Ryu took him to the underworld. His thoughts were interrupted when 3 of Riser's peerage members found him. There were 2 Nikomata, an Ai and Lee, both pawns, and a rook named Isabella who wore a mask. So this is our opponent? And I asked as she and her sister pounced at him. He's a mysterious one. Naruto stepped out of the twins' attacks, dodging them quite easily. He is supposed to be a rook, and yet he's so fast. Lee shouted as she face planted again. Naruto jumped above them and seemingly vanished. And I, Lee behind you. Isabella shouted when Naruto appeared behind them. You two are annoying, he said as he grabbed the base of their necks, paralyzing them like a normal kitten. Learn to be quiet. Naruto let them go and evaded Isabella's sneak attack. Isabella kept up her assault of punches and occasional kicks. And you have no manners, Naruto said as he swatted away each and every one of Isabella's attacks, wearing her out gradually. You lack speed like I did. Soon, Naruto was dodging all 3 opponents at once, a bit more difficult, causing him to get hit, but he did not let it get him down. Riser Phoenix, down 1 rook and 2 pawns. Naruto smirked under his mask. Naruto grabbed one of the Nekomata's fists, and twisted around and flung her over his shoulder into the ground, knocking the air out of her when he stomped on her stomach, hard. Lee gasped and coughed before she was retired. Riser Phoenix down 1 pawn. Grafia stated. Rias Gremry down 1 rook. Naruto was surprised to hear that Kaneko was taken out, which led Isabella to punch him in the chest, causing him to cough and spit in his mask as he knelt down. Not so tough now? Isabella asked as she kicked him in the head, sending him flying through several trees. Naruto stood back up. Stay calm. He thought as he stood up with visible tears and scuffs on his cloak. He felt the urge to kill increase. He wanted to find out who retired Kaneko and murder them, to feel their organs under his hand and their blood on his skin. Stay calm. And I appeared kicked him in the back of his right shoulder, dislocating it. She then spun kicked him under the chin, sending him into the air. Naruto grabbed her foot and pulled her up with him. He spun her up to his head and slammed their heads into each other. Nee's eyes glossed over as she was retired. Riser Phoenix, down 1 pawn. Naruto breathed hard as he turned to Isabella. You're worn out now and easy picking, Isabella said as she kicked him in the chest and pulled her leg back before he could grab her. You are weak now and I'll prolong this to avenge my comrades. Naruto fell to the ground, coughing and could taste blood in his mouth. Damn it, he thought before he rolled to evade Isabella's stomp. I trained in speed, but the moment I got distracted I started to get my ass handed to me. Naruto flipped and landed on his feet. Naruto. Naruto heard that voice again and was kicked on his left arm, with said appendage's bones being splintered. Naruto cried out in pain and slumped over with both arms damaged. Just let me guide you, Naruto. Naruto looked up to see that he was in a dark void. He floated aimlessly until he saw a faint pink light. It was far away but it looked like it had a human form. It moved a bit before a piece of it floated towards him and entered him. Isabella rose her foot to break his spine but was blown away by the sudden increase in his magic. She looked at him as he had a thin magic aura cloak around him. Its reddish black and pink color set her on edge, but what shocked her most was that she heard a sickening popping noise. Naruto had set his shoulder back in place, and did not even making a sound. What are you? Isabella asked as Naruto stood up and his now green slitted eyes bored their way into her soul before looking down at his hands and the visible aura vanished. Naruto said nothing as he flexed his fingers and then proceeded to punch and kick the air. Isabella watched as he stopped, and then looked at her again. You asked what I am? He said in a chilling voice. Isabella gasped. She looked down to see his hand covered in her blood being pulled from her stomach. I am your nightmare, Naruto said coldly as Isabella fell and was retired. Riser Phoenix, down 1 rook. Naruto smirked under his mask and looked at his blood-soaked hand, causing him to smirk harder. I like this feeling, he said with a giddy voice. He lost it before he closed his hand and looked at the ceiling barrier. I wonder what Revel tastes like. His mask released the gas and he inhaled it. It did very little to curb his craving, but he could now think better. Whoever that person is, Naruto thought as he left the forest area. I need to find out who they are. But why do I have this feeling that I know them? Track area, Riser Phoenix, down 1 rook. Seems like Naruto took down 3 of them, Kiba said as he blocked Carlomine's flaming sword while Issei was dodging 5 of Riser's pieces. Are you done, Drake? Issei asked as he dodged another fatal blow. Nearly, Drake responded. 1 more and then you can give that power to the knight. Perfect, Issei shouted as his sacred gear glowed again. Dragon Booster, second liberation, Drake shouted as Issei activated the second form of his boosted gear. Kiba, Issei shouted as he rolled under an attack from Riser's bishop and tagged Kiba's leg. Transfer. Kiba felt his body be flooded with power, so much power that he could feel it start to strain his body. Alright, go sword birth, he shouted as he stabbed his sword into the ground and dozens upon dozens of swords burst from the ground and impaled each member of Riser's peerage. Around them, Riser downed 2 knights, 1 bishop, and 3 pawns. Way to go, Kiba, Issei shouted as he went to high-five his friend. Boom, well damn. I missed one, Yubelina said as she glided over the track field. Kiba, Issei yelled as he saw his friend get retired. Rias Gremry, down 1 knight. Yubelina smiled as she watched Issei glare angrily at her. You bitch, he shouted as he angrily prepared to attack her. Haha, Akino chuckled as she flew before the 2. Her outfit singed and tattered. Our fight isn't over, so don't go about here and there picking other fights. Issei, get going to the main building. Are you sure? The Red Dragon Emperor asked. Positive, Akino said with a reassuring smile. I'll handle her. Issei nodded and took off, his worry never wavering. Now that my Kohai is gone, Akino said as she returned her attention back to Yubelina. We can continue, if you insist, Yubelina said as she held forward her staff and a bomb detonated before Akino. Akino was blown back and skidded across the field before she felt her get picked up. Akino opened her tired eyes and saw Naruto. I got you, Akino, he said with an unseen smile. He had his eyes closed so he would not be tempted by her flesh. He was tempted by Revel, and with the knowledge that Akino liked him made it even harder for him to resist his temptation. You finally came for me, Akino said as she snuggled closer to his chest and leaned against him, passing out and retiring. Rias Gremry, down 1 queen. I'll get her for you, Akino-chan. Naruto whispered as he turned to the bomb queen. Above them, Revel watched as Naruto summoned his wings and proceeded to fight Yubelina. Naruto-sama, Revel thought as she glimpsed his now emerald eyes, making her blush at how exotic he looked with them. Rias Gremory, down 1 bishop. Main building roof. Issei was thankful he had promoted to the queen piece because if he hadn't then he would not have been able to take so many hits from Riser. He could hear his heart beat in his ears and he was getting tired. Each punch to more and more of his stamina. This is getting boring, Riser said as he pummeled the red dragon again. Just give up now, Rias, and I'll spare your pawn. Rias stammered. She was stuck between a rock and a hard place. She could surrender, thus giving up her freedom. Or let it continue and let Issei die. Riser, Rias, and a barely standing Issei saw Naruto and Yubelina crash into the roof behind them with Naruto on top of her forcing her head through the tile and wood. Yubelina passed out and was removed from the game. Riser Phoenix down 1 queen. Riser spat angrily as Naruto stood up and cracked his neck. His torso was out in the open as Yubelina had blown his shirt off, revealing his sealed body and toned figure. So the monstrous school arrives, Riser said as he gave Naruto his full attention. I was waiting for you to show up. Cut the shit, Riser. Naruto snapped as he kept his eyes on Riser. Issei, can you hear me? Think your answer. Yeah, I can. What is it? I have a plan and I need to follow it exactly, Naruto thought as he jumped back to dodge Riser's fire-enhanced punch. Issei agreed and listened and watched as Naruto dodged and blocked many of Riser's attacks, but was hit by just as many. Riser was actually enjoying this. If he killed this ghoul, he'd get even more famous as his familiar had dug up the info that Naruto attacked the heads of the Gremory house and that his power is sealed so Naruto could only put out so much power. Issei kept his boost silent to not alert anyone, even Rias, and made it look like he was keeping her safe from any fire that came their way. Come on, Riser growled as he kicked Naruto back. Is that all the ghoul that attacked the Gremory heads really that weak? Naruto's green eyes widened, letting Riser get the better of him and tripped Naruto, placing his foot on the blonde's back and applied a great amount of pressure. Naruto screamed in pain as he felt his spine start to crack. Stay where you are, Naruto thought through the pain to Issei when he was about to step in. Just keep boosting. I promise I'll get him. Let me know when you hit your max. Issei grit his teeth and nodded. It pained him to see his friend get hurt like this, but he kept on boosting, only had 3 more left. You are a monster, Riser chided. Nothing but a beast that consumes flesh and blood. Riser laughed at Naruto's struggle. He's not a monster. Riser and Naruto looked over to see Rias. Naruto is not a monster, she said again. Cause if anyone is, it's me. I treated him poorly and did not get to know him properly because of a fear that had no right to be. I am the monster, Riser, so don't you dare say that again about my rook. In that moment, Naruto was happy that Rias had said that. She admitted she was wrong and he knew what he needed to do. Issei, how much longer? Naruto asked as he felt Riser put more pressure and yell at Rias to shut up. 2 more left. Good enough. When I give the signal, launch your shot, Naruto thought as he looked at Rias. Rias, get his leg off me please. I have a plan and it does not need me eating the floor under his foot. Rias heard him and immediately blasted Riser's leg with her POD, making him fall. As Riser fell, Naruto spun around and grabbed Riser in a full Nelson, but because he moved quickly segments of his spine went out of alignment, and one pinched his spinal cord making him lose feelings in his legs. Do it now, Issei, Naruto thought as he felt Riser struggle. Will you be able to get out of the way? Issei asked. Forget about me and fire the damn thing, Naruto shouted as he head-butted the back of Riser's head to keep him down. Alright, I'll go full power, Issei said as he held his left arm forward. Drag, balance breaker, Welsh dragon, over booster. Issei was covered in a bright red light as chunks of red armor formed around his body, giving the look of an armored dragon. Balance breaker, scale mail, he stated as he used his time to increase the stored magic he gained earlier into a pea-sized red orb. Shit, Riser thought as he felt the immense power in that orb and he doubled his efforts to escape. Make sure to move out of the way, Naruto, Issei shouted as he pulled back his arm. Dragon shot. Once the orb launched itself at Riser and Naruto, but it lacked a great amount of speed due to its immense power. This isn't over, Riser shouted as he flared his flaming wings. Fuck, Naruto thought as he was burned and was forced to let Riser go. Naruto collapsed to his knees, his body not responding as he tried to run. I'm going to die, Kaneko-chan, Naruto thought as he closed his eyes. I'm sorry I could not make you happy, Naruto-sama. Revel flew down from the sky and tried to grab him, but Issei's attack was upon her and Naruto. Get out of the way, Revel, Riser shouted when he saw his baby sister jump into the belly of the beast. Revel, remembering she had jumped in front of an incoming attack, flinched. Seeing no option left, Naruto wrapped his arms around Revel just before the attack hit him. I'm so sorry, Revel, he whispered into her ear. There was a struggle before the blast continued its path and slammed into the barrier and soon dissipated. Neither Revel or Naruto were there when the blast died. Chapter 5, done. What if Naruto Highschool DxD Issei bashing? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel, and leave a like if you guys need the next part. Comment down, and thanks for watching the video, and see you guys in the next video.